Did you want that on Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'll call the Budget, Finance, and Investment Committee to order. And gentlemen, we do have minutes to approve. These are minutes of our May 9th meeting. All 25 pages of it.
Move approved.
Thank you,
I can
Commissioner
second that.
Jernigan. Seconded by Commissioner
Yeah.
Schaefer.
It
I'll take
put
about
me
a
to
second.
sleep one night.
I take about a second in the motion that they read those thoroughly.
Yes, I did.
So no additions or corrections, right? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Good evening, Mayor Burgess.
Good evening.
We are continuing our budget hearings on the 2013-2014 budget. And for those in the audience this evening, this is the procedure we will follow. I will ask each department head to join us at the table. The mayor will give his recommendation, and then each department head will have a chance to speak to any specifics of their budget. And if you agree or disagree with the mayor's recommendation, then of course the committee will have a chance to ask questions or have as much discussion as is necessary. And as we did at our last meeting, that worked quite efficiently, we will just do voice votes for each of the budgets. And we will begin, gentlemen, on page 35 in our notebooks, and we will start with the Circuit Court. Mrs. Boatman. Mayor Burgess, page 35, your recommendation, please.
Okay, this lady is so efficient, we're gonna cut her budget in half. We're recommending
You guarantee that for next year again?
$630,750. We can point out just a few of those changes. Primarily, she's been able to implement and purchase this data processing software, etc. You can see on line item 709, that is reduced from $801,000 to $134,500, and that's just for some licenses for her servers and scanners, I believe. The only other thing we have up there's an increase up in 317. It goes from 116 to 175, and Ms. Bolin, you can tell them what that's about.
Well, as you know, we still have our old software as we're implementing our new software. So we will need to pay for the old software until the contract ends in December of 2014. So we actually have two software licenses that we'll be paying for this year, and then two for half of next year as well. So that's why you see money in there for our current software vendor and money in there for our new software vendor as well.
So it's the data processing services that's in
Correct.
317.
Mm-hmm.
The 134,500 in data processing, is that
Yes.
wrapping up that project to some extent? That won't be recurring cost every
It
year,
is,
will
it is going to be going down. The SQL license is something that we need to actually run our new equipment. That is actually a 3-year amount. So that's 93.5 that will hit for 3 years.
30,000 a year more or less.
No, it will hit 93.5 for 3 years.
Oh, every year for 3
Every
years.
year is for 3
Oh,
years.
that got worse just then, didn't it? In my mind.
But that's for the actual licensor for our SQL license. Our current software isn't a SQL product. And then, of course, the scanners, the receivers, all of that initial equipment that you see in there, that $41,000, that will not be repurchased. So that $41,000 will definitely go away next year, in the next fiscal.
Which line item was that?
That is on 709.
Well, back,
40,000 of that 134,500.
Yes.
back to 317.
Yes.
I thought, and this may have been somebody else, but when you went with this new system you got, because it's better, it's going to save us money, and that the other one is antiquated, and that it couldn't do the job that was needed to do, and it was getting to the point where it was hard to repair it. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, it can't meet the needs that we have. In fact, we've just gotten an email from the AOC, we can't currently produce the reports that we need, that the Administrative Office of the Courts needs. So we'll be working with the vendor to try and remedy that.
So why are we having to be still locked in with that?
Because
Others.
it's a really good contract for the vendor.
Hmm.
We have had several people within legal look at that contract, and there is not a way to get out of that contract early. Believe me, that is something that we invested a lot of time investigating.
So the vendor will be able to support that system then, right?
The same level of support you've been getting.
The
with-
same level I've been
Yes,
getting,
okay.
which is
Just
very
hang-
minimal.
Just hang on. no.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I see. Thank you.
Yes,
The licensing agreement with the old system,
correct.
where was that money 2 years ago? Because line 709 in the 11-12 budget was only $1,900.
It's up in 317.
It's up in 317.
Well-
$81,600.
Keep in mind, 709 represents the capital money that you approve for the purchase of the new software. So that's why that's in that data processing equipment line, because it's the capital purchase of the actual software, all of the development that we're doing right now on that.
Didn't we just say a minute ago that the licensing for this time is in that 134.5 in line 709?
No, that's your SQL license.
It's two.
So there's
But-
two different things. There's
So it's a license is,
to be able to run the system.
I know, but it's in the capital budget though.
Correct, because it's a capital purchase.
The
That-
license, which is a yearly thing, is,
No, you
said it's yearly for 3 years.
it is, because it is what is that? 9 times 3 is 275,000. It's
Yeah.
a $275,000 purchase.
Yeah.
As opposed to coming to you and asking for $275,000.
I was just trying to figure out where it is, so.
Yes.
But so the licensing agreement for the new system is in the capital line item, but for the old system, it was up in 317.
No. The
Yeah.
the
Well,
SQL license
Some of
is-
both of that.
Yes.
Stay up on 317. The old system has got $81,600. The new system, which is Justware, is
Yes.
$59,000, okay, for that software. And there's another little piece for $6,800. Go down to 709. The hardware, her servers require a SQL license, and that's where we're getting this 93.5 that we have to pay for 3 years.
Well, that's not in perpetuity, that's just for 3 years, and then it's.
Once you
Correct.
get that done.
It is buying the hardware, okay.
Yes,
Correct.
it's with
Correct. But we split it, we worked with OIT to split that so that it wasn't a
I was
$275,000
afraid that was your
ask.
yearly license for,
No,
from
no, no,
now on was
no.
gonna be
Actually,
93.
if you look at 317, our yearly license for our current vendor is 81.6, and our yearly license or service fee for our new vendor is 59,000. So it's less.
I knew we had a poor deal with our previous vendor, and I was afraid I was understanding where it didn't get better, but it is
No,
getting better.
it is getting better, yes.
And we can't cut that one off. I mean, we've got to finish
No.
out through 14 with
No, and we still need to be able to access that data until we get that all transferred over into the new system.
Now, you told us that's gonna be saving us money, and I understand this, it's an antiquated system, and we can't maintain the data that you need, and I understand that. But, you're talking about 460,000 versus 630 now.
Correct.
So you're telling me in how many years can we expect this to get back to that level or closer to it?
Well, next year it'll be,
Be 3 years, two more years.
it'll actually be 2.5 years that it'll get back to that level.
It had to be done.
It did,
Yeah.
it did.
Motion to approve the budget as presented.
Second.
Commissioner Jordan, seconded by Commissioner Sandlin. Any further discussion or questions?
One question on 194. Are you gonna hit 60,000 this year? Or, is it?
I hesitate to ever reduce that because
You
we
don't know
can't
what'll happen.
anticipate how many jury trials we're going to have.
Okay.
And how long those are
Well, I
going
was
to
just
last.
asking, but this year, are you gonna hit it?
Oh, I don't think
It's
so.
up.
No, I don't think so.
You can leave it there.
Well, that's her, that's them behind it. That's the judge.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
One no. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, page 36, Circuit Court Judge and Judge Taylor. You are representing your budget tonight.
Right.
And Mayor
The presiding
Burgess
judge
will.
is Judge Mark Rogers, but he's out of town. He went to his daughter's graduation from law school down in Georgia, so I told him I'd
Good
put in
man.
for him.
Okay. Mayor Burgess, your recommendation, please.
Okay, the recommendation is $262,681. You can see that's up about 14,000, but when you take just the step increases and the increase in the health insurance, it accounts for practically all of that. So there's nothing else there, and there's no new positions. It's just those benefits and those step increases.
Judge Taylor?
There's, these are the employees that are the court officers, and I think we have the one divorce coordinator in there. All the judges and their assistants are state employees.
Make a motion approved.
Commissioner Jernigan, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Bond. Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sorry I didn't get any questions.
General Sessions, pages 37 and 38. Ms. Watkins, good evening. Good evening. Mayor Burgess, your recommendation, please.
Okay, recommendation is $1,397,055, and the judges are county employees, and Ms. Watkins and her judicial team are included in these budgets. There are basically no employees, but I may have to have a little help out of Ms. Watkins and Lisa. But in any event, the step raises are in here, and we do have a bit of an increase from current budget on part-time personnel, so we can give her a little bit more help. I believe she was wanting to have at one point an additional full-time person, but I've not chosen to recommend that. So you can see that the other salaries on line item 189 is just a step increases from 323 to 329, and so that accounts, but we did add a few more dollars up in the part-time personnel line item. There's really nothing else in the budget that's changed. Now, these books that are called MIT books, Ms. Watkins, where do we have those? Are you providing those, or is the sheriff providing those?
Well, he was providing those, but I think you said that, we're.
But we don't, how much, do we know about how much, Lisa, that was going to be? Do you have any idea how many dollars we should have? I don't think we put that
We
in.
didn't put that in. I don't think you put that in
You
there.
can have mine most of the time.
I don't know, I have a note
Put it in
somewhere.
law, in law books, but I think.
Let's see,
You got library.
We got
library
For
books,
32.
but we probably, we need, I think, several $1,000s, but I don't know how many dollars.
I can't recall what the price.
It might be in my sheriff's notes.
Lisa, how many's in 102?
How many
Three.
bodies?
How many judges?
Three.
Yeah. Just give me one moment.
Sure.
I don't find this answer. We'll put a number down and we'll amend it later. Put $10,000 more in the library books, okay? Which would include those minimus books.
Or do we need to put them in the office supplies?
Or office, either place we so choose. They're not really library books, they're not permanent books,
Right.
they're books you use routinely. So let's make the 16.8 for line item 435, add $10,000 to that. That's, was discussed with the sheriff, I'd failed to follow back up on that. And that number may be a little too much, it might not be enough, but we'll go with it and we'll amend it as we need to later down the road. So it's 1,407,055.
What is line 189? Other salaries and wages.
That is for judicial commissioners and then not court officers, just for our judicial commissioners.
And how many are there?
There are 10. And also, it includes Judge Brandon's secretary.
I make a motion to approve.
Commissioner Jernigan, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Jordan. Any further discussion?
If we find out that this amount for the books is lower, we'll be able to adjust this, is that correct?
Yeah, we'll even adjust that as, before we finalize this, before your final review in the summary portion.
Can you tell us one more time what the books are for?
Ms. Watkins will
It's
tell you.
for when we do arrest and the defendants are booked in, we have to write their name down, the charge, and the bond amount. Keep a record of it, and it's called a minimus book.
Where do you get that from? The state? They probably.
You know, honestly, I have no idea because it's never been our responsibility to order those books. It's been the sheriff's.
I was just wondering if it was those good one of those good deals we get from the state.
Any further discussion relative to the motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thank you very much. Gentlemen, pages 39 and 40, the drug court portion of our budget. Ms. Snyder.
Yeah.
Good evening, Ms. Snyder. Mayor Burgess, your recommendation, please.
Okay. The recommendation is $469,318. We will tell you that the latest numbers we had, we're generating revenue from all various sources, including classes and training and grants of $438,000 or thereabouts. So what we're asking the county to support has decreased from about $60,000 this year, I think, to about $30,000. So we're making progress. We are adding a position, but that position has been able to be added. She needs that position because we've got an increase, substantial increase on the grant funds that we're getting. So if you'll notice on line item 189, there's one additional position there, and she might want to tell you exactly what that's going to do and allow her to do. But that's where the primary increase is here. From the 415 to 469 is, roughly 50,000, and most of it is in that position plus the benefits, including the insurance that goes with that. Other than that, it's pretty much a continuation budget.
So other than the grants, how much is the county?
It's a
funding
little
this?
more than 30,000. It's about 60 this year, but we've decreased it to about 30 this coming budget year.
And the grant that I typically get from the Governor's Highway Safety Office, I only got $29,000 last year. I went ahead and wrote it for $60,000 this year. They told me to write it for whatever I needed, and I said, okay. So that $30,000 may disappear as well.
What'd you say that position was gonna do?
The position is the state, the governor's appropriation for drug courts. Our appropriation is increasing from $50,000 to $107,500. That will be a reoccurring grant to us, Rutherford County. However, in order to get that money, we have to increase our capacity. Our capacity right now is 50, and we told them we would increase it to 60, but of course, obviously, we need a new position to do that. So that's why we need the new position, plus that person, part of that person will be teaching the LIOP class that we do for the public that's bringing in around $30,000 a year by starting another one, which we have a waiting list on our first one, that will implement his salary as well and might even cover it. And the foundation is putting in money for that position as well. So you know me, I've got revenue coming in from every little place I can find it, so I've probably got 10 revenue streams anymore, if not more.
So the new position is funded by a grant? Or you had
Yes.
to?
Grants and donations, and him providing well, I say him because they have to do male drug screens as well. But this person will also be doing a class for the public that we charge for. So he'll also be bringing in income from that class.
So do you have to hire the new person to get the grant, or you just had to increase
Yes.
your expenditures from 50,000
Well,
to
we had to
60,000?
increase our capacity, and in order to increase our capacity, we had to hire someone. That was the deal with the state. We'll give you more money, but you have to increase your capacity.
So you're satisfied with the mayor's recommendation?
Not completely. Well, there's two things that need to be changed. First of all, the position that was vacant is now filled, and that salary is actually lower than what is in here because she's starting at a different level. Whereas Linda Wilson had been with us for 8 years, so she was at a much higher level. So I can't remember what the change is, though. I want to say.
When we go back through, we can adjust that.
So that means we're gonna lower that
Yeah.
budget, that amount.
Yeah, we're gonna lower the budget that amount. And also on the.
There was two things, that was one.
That was one. The other thing was on other supplies and materials. We thought we could reduce that to, well, I usually ask for 30. This year I asked for 25, the mayor has lowered it to 20. I'm having to come back twice this year to get more money in that account for drug screens. The drug screens,
Is that where they come out of 499?
yeah. And actually, I'm presenting a budget amendment at the next budget, well, the next, public safety meeting, yeah.
What have you done for travel in the past? Because you've never had any travel money. This year you got $3,000.
That is also for the new position. They will be doing home visits.
So they kind of, I just always thought you probably had a little travel money anyway, but I noticed it's zeros across it.
What happens next year if there's a different regime in Nashville to your increase from, what did you say, 50,000 to 107,000 in that grant? Is it?
They told me it was reoccurring. I guess, the governor will still be there.
What happens if it goes down? We will have to adjust our staff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll retire.
Which that was the, well, and that's what we talked about before we even started this program, how many
Yeah.
years ago? I mean,
It's 13 years.
13
Can you
years,
believe
wow,
that?
wow.
Yeah,
But we
getting old before your
jumped in
eyes.
on that 13 years ago, knowing that next year may be only a 1 year deal. So, and then it's grown from there, and you've done a great job, and probably saved a lot of lives and kept a lot of folks out of jail and turned a lot of lives around too. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
I've about run my own out with the stress of money, but.
Mayor, how do we adjust the $499 then on
Okay.
those
Well,
tests?
Lisa's going to adjust the
Salary.
personnel line item.
So that might
We can make
roll.
that
And
20.
move that over to 499, leave that bottom number the same.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
It should be
It
close.
should be about the same.
Yeah.
So
Should be
if
close.
you'll just give them some flexibility of making the
Mhm.
499, 25,000, and we'll adjust accordingly to whatever the reduction is on the other line item and the benefits that go with it. So for right now, just make it
Just keep the line item.
474, 318, knowing that Lisa's going to adjust the benefits and reduction that one person's in salary.
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Pease.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Sandler.
I would, and I feel sure that, as I think is policy around here, whenever a position is created through grant funds, that employee understands
Yes.
that their position is
Well, they
funded through a
will.
grant, and if that grant goes away, their position is in jeopardy.
And that's actually what happened to this position before, is we did lose some funding, and so we did have to lay off that position, so now we're trying to bring it back, we'll see. So, yes, understood.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Ms. Snyder.
Thank you very much.
Gentlemen, pages 41 and 42, Chancellery Court, Mr. Bratcher.
Okay, the recommendation is $933,768. Let me just take one quick look here. There are no new positions here. There are some increases in the line item 106 for deputies, but that reflects the changes they've used with the table that's available for the fee officers to use for their deputies. So past that, there are a few other, benefits that go up accordingly with respect to their salary, those wage increases. And of course, again, the insurance, we won't mention this again, but it goes up in every department that we look at. Now, past that, Mr. Bratcher, I don't think we've made any other changes of any consequence. Do you recall any? I think that's pretty much it.
No, sir. That's correct.
Well, what are you buying for $17,631 for data processing?
Okay, that's our.
You gotta have something for that amount,
Sure.
I think.
Well, that's the 5874 is the fee for our case management vendor. That's what they charge for the software. That's our case management. Then we have delinquent taxes where it says 1408 taxes. That's a program that we bought to upgrade our review of our delinquent taxes. We collect the delinquent taxes for the county. And then the 3189, these are Imagee's. This is hardware that allows us to read images of documents that we are now imaging, primarily our orders, which have to go, in the past, had to go in minute books that cost $80 a piece plus $54 for paper, so $135 or so roughly. And we've already saved this last year $5,000 on those books and papers alone. And we had two scanners and one of these sets that we bought last year, and we need more flexibility with the additional machines. So they're not scanners, but they allow us to get or look at the orders, send them out. We have to send them between each other for various duties, as well as send them out. And we're saving money on mailing orders out to lawyers and parties that we can still send them certified copies, but if they don't need them, we can email them now. So we've saved maybe $500 in mailing on that. So the we also have a collection of delinquent taxes online that we have not had before. These vendors are allowing us to do that. We're also we have viewing of delinquent taxes online, and it saved us thousands and thousands of calls already that we are not getting because people can just go look. And then they now can pay them online, or if they happen to still call us, they can pay them by credit card if they want to. And now this additional part at the bottom of that, they'll be able to pay their costs either online or by credit card. So it helps us collect money is what it does.
Okay.
So these are enhancements to our hardware and software that we've been using over the years. So it's really a money-making, not money-making, but money-saving situation with regard to the hardware and software that we'll be purchasing. That's what all that does.
Thank you.
On line 106, how many deputies are in that line item?
There are 10 full-time deputies in that line item.
And you said we didn't add deputies, some of them just moved to different pay grades?
That's correct. 2 did. And the rest were just the adjustments by what Mr. Burgess explained.
Make a motion to approve the Chancery Court's budget.
Commissioner Schaefer, thank you. Seconded by Commissioner Bond. Further discussion or questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Mr. Bratcher.
Thank you all.
Gentlemen, pages 43 and 44, juvenile court. Judge Davenport.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My
Mayor
favorite
Burgess,
female
your
judge,
recommendation,
isn't it?
Okay. Well, the recommendation is $509,209, which is really about $9,000 less. It's really a continuation budget. There's just one judge in this. Line item 189 is decreased a little since we have a new magistrate judge that's not have the number of years of experience that the previous person had. So there's a little bit of decrease there, and that's about the net change. So other than that, there's really nothing here of consequence.
Judge Davenport, do you need to speak to any part of the budget?
Not anything. Of course, Judge Siskin had been with me for many years, and then he moved on to circuit. So then we started with Magistrate Dodd, who had been with me part-time, and then he's moved into that full-time spot.
Make a motion to approve.
Commissioner P., thank you. Seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Page 45, gentlemen. District Attorney General, Mr. Whitesell, good evening.
Good evening.
Mayor Burgess.
Recommendations, $86,476. Has nothing there except step increases in any attendant benefits that would be associated with that. So it's very close, just a few dollars more.
Mr. Whitesell.
Just ask that everybody approve it and appreciate what you've done for me in the past.
Motion to approve.
Okay, Commissioner
I'll
P.,
second.
seconded by Commissioner Jordan, or the way around, either one, they
Who
said.
was the other one?
P, Commissioner P. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Office of Public Defender, page 46. Mr. Melton, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Mayor Burgess.
Okay, this will take a little bit more explanation and really have to take you back to the sort of the statute and what is allowable here. The public defender by statute is entitled to receive at least 75% of what we do, what the county does for the district attorney. So you can see 75% of 80-something thousand, it's a little more than $60,000. Mr. Melton has been gracious enough over the last 3 or 4 years to sort of let us transition this. So we haven't been here, but this will be the first time we've actually been here at our 75%. He's been doing with part-time people and a little more part-time people, so this will give him a full-time position, and you can see that the $35,000 that we had before in that line item there, my line item's punched out, that's gone away because it's all been pushed up into the full-time position this time. So this is our duty to do this, really, and it's the first time that he's been allowed us to sort of work toward this, and we finally have arrived and we need to do this, and we really don't have any choice about it, but it's about as efficient as we can be, and he's been nice enough to let us, to work with us on that.
Or we get Mr. Weitzel back in there and cut his budget one.
Let's don't do that to Mr. Weitzel. We couldn't.
75%,
Commissioner Jernigan, thank you.
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner P. Any further discussion?
So it looks like the 35,000 in part-time just got shifted into line 103 for the assistant, so it's not really that much of an increase.
But it's about almost a $30,000 net increase, okay? When you add the benefits and et cetera to it as it comes out.
Oh, because of the benefits.
Yeah, the benefits will push that up.
Well, I personally wanted to thank Mr. Melton for what you've done for us over the years here. And I do recall that, you know, this is a mandate. And not only that, it's the right thing to do. So we appreciate your help over the years.
We appreciate the county helping us, and Mr. Callison, who works for us in juvenile court, is here tonight, and we look forward to making him full-time where we can continue to serve the citizens better.
Gentlemen, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pages 47 and 48, Youth Services. Ms. Bigby, hello.
Nope. Okay, the recommendation is $905,819. You can see that's just about $8,000 more than the current year, so there are step increases, and we are recommending we allow her to replace a worn-out copier for $4,000. And you can notice that a big part of her budget, half of it, or thereabouts, $464,000 is a grant that she sort of passes through to somebody else anyway, so that's where the most of the cost is.
Do you need to speak to any part of the budget?
I do not. I agree with the mayor's recommendation.
Motion approved.
Commissioner Jernigan, thank you. Seconded by Commissioner Sandlin.
So you're saying that 464,000 is grant money, that's not all of that's, so actually about half of what we're looking at is what we're actually
What
putting
we're
in.
actually responsible for, that's correct.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thank you very much. Page 49, Domestic Violence. This is also the Victim Assistance Program.
Ms. Tillage, is she here?
I don't see Ms. Tillage. Mayor Burgess, your recommendation?
Okay, I didn't remind her to come, but in the event, this budget is a continuation budget. It's $166,233 is the recommendation, which is about $4,000 more, which reflects basically step increases and attendant increases in the benefits.
And all of this is covered by.
Yeah.
This
by
is federal
revenue.
money, isn't it?
It's not
Yes,
federal
yeah.
money, it's
It's not
coming through the courts.
Through the court
And there's
system.
one grant that
Yeah,
comes
she
in, but
has
it's pretty much
more than
fully
enough
funded.
revenue to cover this.
Motion approved.
Commissioner Jordan, seconded by Commissioner P. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, gentlemen. Page 54. This is traffic control. This is the maintenance and repair for the utilities at certain traffic lights.
840.
840.
We have three or four, Compton Road, and 3 or 4 of them, I don't.
There was a
Let's see.
resolution didn't make it through the commission the other night for one on Mona Road and Jefferson Pike.
Those were flashing lights that the state of Tennessee is going to provide, and
We're not
they've
gonna be
now,
on the hook
they've
for the
now
maintenance?
determined we don't have to do those.
I was
Take
wondering
care
if
of
this
it.
number was enough to cover
No.
that, so.
This just maintains the ones we currently have in place.
Move to approve.
Commissioner Jernigan, thank you.
Second motion.
Seconded by Commissioner Sandlin. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, gentlemen.
How many total are there now, Mary? Do you know?
I think I have
honestly, I
more.
don't know.
I have in my notes, would this be correct, Walter Deal, State Route 840 at the racetrack, Almaville Road and Compton Road. Does that sound right to you, gentlemen?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Well, I was wondering, are we looking at putting a new one out at Stewart's Creek area where the new high school?
The city
There.
doesn't get that
That's
done.
gonna be inside the city.
That is,
Smyrna.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why I was wondering about, I remember hearing it was going
I think the
in.
states approved that, and the city requested it, the town of Smyrna did.
Gentlemen, we're ready for the Correctional Work Center, pages 59 through 61.
And Mr.
Solange.
Solange is at a meeting and not here.
Okay.
His budget has decreased about $5,000. And no new positions. The recommendation is $3,687,894. There are a few minor adjustments. Largely, it's just step increases, and so there's nothing of significance that's gone up. There's several that have gone down slightly.
$399, is that the medical?
That includes medical, it includes the food service as well. Now, we've taken the laundry in-house that was in there previously.
As you cut maintenance and repair of buildings and maintenance and repair of equipment both significantly, can we get by with those lower numbers? One from 23,007 to 12,000, one from 33,000 to 15,000, 335 and 336.
I think you may have some
Those were
flexibility.
amended budgets.
I think you may have a little flexibility in 399.
So he can, if he
But
gets short, he can
that's what we
pull some out of
decided.
that.
Yeah.
Right.
Because at the 2011-12 were numbers consistent with last year, but as long as he can get by, that suits me fine.
So far, we've done it out of internally within that budget.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget.
Thank you, Commissioner P. Seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Pages 62 and 63.
I know we just approved that, but I thought we adjusted utilities also. And was that not them, or was that the sheriff's? We had
Well, now,
two
we
or
did
three that we
building,
had.
county building department, Ben's department, we did adjust their utilities. They pay a lot of the utilities.
You're talking about the one that had the bad meter, aren't you?
Yeah.
That was at the adult
That was at
activity center.
Tennessee
Okay.
Rehab.
Or whatever.
Center, yeah. We did that one.
This staying pretty constant here
Yeah.
from 11 to 9. Okay.
Juvenile Services, Ms. Duke. Pages 62 and 63. Mayor Burgess, please.
Okay, there's a slight reduction of about $30,000 here. The recommendation is $1,956,146. There's a few changes that you may notice that Ms. Duke and I and Ms. Nolan might want to explain. Line item 161, we have taken.
That was like moving a position. You moved a position from the attendance into secretary.
So we've reduced one position out of the attendant line item and moved that up to the 161 line item. So you can see that 161's up and 164 is decreased. Part-time personnel is a little less than currently budgeted. She's doing better with a little less there. So this line item 189 is something that's funded from a grant position, and that's how many dollars we've got left to carry us through September. We'll get a new grant starting October, and when we get the new grant in October, you'll get new revenue and you'll get new numbers that'll come in here to offset that. So we'll have to amend the budget when we get the new grant. But that's really the primary changes. Otherwise,
So we're not actually losing
no.
those, okay.
That's on a federal year.
But it's, yeah.
Evidently, one attendant is not needed. One fewer attendants we can get by with one fewer. How badly do we need the additional secretary?
Well, what I've done is I have taken full-time employees and begun to utilize part-time employees. So the secretary is desperately needed because I would rather pay the secretary to man the front desk than myself, which is what is happening now. So I'm increasing a part-time receptionist to a full-time receptionist so that I can actually tend to administrative business.
And there's one other piece. We're having to make a necessary change in these medical services, so they're going up a bit from 50,000 to 75,000, but this will give all of our 3 detention centers under the auspices of Dr. Rudd when we do this. And we need to do this, and you'll notice that's an increase. But in view of all that, she's still $30,000 less than current budget year.
Well, 429 dropped to $32,000.
That's part of the grant, and
Yeah,
there will be
that's
an
the-
amendment
That's
come
the roll.
October.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve.
Commissioner Jernigan, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Jordan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Commissioner Schaefer, did I
Yeah,
ask
I
for that
get-
vote too quickly? I
No,
apologize.
it's just a simple question, because I see it a lot of, in the work center, the sheriff, et cetera, the uniforms. They went down from 8,600 down to 3,000, and
This is going to be a one-time situation.
I thought you came up with a
because-
brilliant idea.
No, I have told everybody that they are going to have to mend holes, and I needed to move that money for 1 year into vehicle maintenance and repair, because it's going to be my goal to work with a surplus vehicle. So I've moved that to that line item, but it's just for 1 year. Next year we'll
Get all new uniforms.
I was going, well, that's
Next year we're
gonna
gonna say
multiply
that's a
her
huge
savings by
increase
the
in
sheriff,
uniform.
you know.
But we'll remember
Yeah,
this
that's right.
conversation and we'll all be okay.
No, we won't remember.
We'll bring you an extra spool of thread and needle, so.
Thank you. Pages 64, 65, and 66, gentlemen. County Fire and Rescue. Mr. Farley, good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, we're gonna have a little bit of discussion here, but I made a slight, I was a little bit too optimistic. But first thing I want to tell you is line item 790, we're going to be asking Christie Houston Foundation to fund a new rescue vehicle, and we'd like to put the proper new tools, et cetera, on it, and we're not able to ask them for these tools, so we're gonna have to provide the tools. So if we get the approval from them for the new vehicle at $155,000, I want you to, at this point, recommend put $35,000 on line item 790, which increases my recommendation to $927,845.
30,000.
35,000. Now, let's go back to the beginning. You can ask about that later, but.
That's contingent upon getting the grant.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
189, we have a grant
Rescue truck,
that has now been funded, I guess, effective, what, July the 1st, or is it already?
We decided, we'd already funded, we decided to implement it July 1st.
We're going to implement it July the 1st, but we have the money to fund a position to do a whole range of things. They've written a job description that allows this person to do everything from recruit to train to assist as an administrative assistant. But that's why you see something in line item 189. Again, the communications line item is up about $10,000. We've got another station, and we've got.
I'm sorry, back up just a minute. 189 is a new position.
Funded by a grant.
Funded by a grant.
Four-year grant.
Okay. At the 42,500
That's the.
range.
And there are attendant benefits with that position, including insurance, et cetera, which has increased those numbers as you go down through there. We've asked,
4 years.
we've asked that you can give us some additional money since we've got more pieces of equipment to maintain. The maintenance and equipment on, for vehicles is increased from 49,000 to 80,000. We have taken in another volunteer fire department, which basically has reduced line item 399 from 397.5 to 375,000. And you'll see on the adjacent, the next page, that the recommendation is to keep the contracts with the volunteer fire departments at the same level next year as we currently have with them this year. Yes, ma'am. I understand.
Can you tell us one more time, the 35,000 that was for equipment for the vehicle, is that if we get the grant?
Yes, sir.
If we
Yes,
get a
sir.
grant?
Get the grant, that will buy the education equipment to go on it.
We don't get it. We don't have anything to put it on.
Don't get it, we'll use our old vehicle with the old equipment.
What's the administration equipment?
That,
that
701. Turnouts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's just
that's
turnouts,
turnout.
boots, helmets, et cetera.
So the new vehicle will be in the extra, not replacing the existing vehicle. Okay, we made what we're gonna need the equipment for. So you said if we don't get the grant, we use the old vehicle. Can we not move the equipment off the old vehicle to the
Well,
new vehicle, or we're
the-
gonna keep the old vehicle in service?
I'm gonna take the old vehicle out of service. It's got 189,000 miles
So the
on it.
equipment all fit work in a new vehicle?
But it's aged too, because that's the reason we went to 5 rescue zones.
Mhm.
The purpose was to buy new rescue trucks because these tools have not been maintained in the past. So,
Probably somewhat outdated as far
Yeah,
as design and
well,
technology.
it's
and
not
things
so much that, it's just they're getting old. And we don't wanna be in a situation where we're cutting some out of the vehicle and they fail. Well, and every year we maintenance them, have them maintained and maintenance, but either hydraulic tools basically what it boils down to.
Now, when we looked at that in the past, we were talking about getting new trucks, and I know where they've been going. Where's this one going if we get it?
We're gonna send we're gonna send a newer truck to Kittrell.
One other thing I want to mention to you that I don't have a final resolution on, you can see on the Laverne Rescue Squad, there was some discussion early on that there was going to be some changes with respect to what the city of Laverne was going to do. I don't have any idea if that's going to actually take place. I don't know if Mr. Schaefer even knows, but I've left their money at the same amount. There might have been an indication that they were going to take over that responsibility and we were going to reduce ours. So I would say that as we get accurate information, we may or may not have an opportunity to lower that $45,000.
I haven't heard a word
But right
from
now,
them.
I'm not comfortable lowering it until we see if there's going to be a change down there and how they function together.
So, Mayor Burgess, when we approve this budget for county fire and rescue, we approve $399 as part,
Yes, ma'am.
all in one
Have in the
vote.
past.
Or I have, yeah.
A second.
I thought we had, the, fire stations all on an equal.
Well, what you got some stations that do not run rescue.
Mhm.
They get $45,000 a year.
They
Kittrell-
don't run rescue.
They do not run
Right.
rescue.
You get 5,000 more
More
if
if
you
you
do.
Yes, sir.
Just
And
for
that's
their
Kittrell,
fuel.
Walt Hill, and Alville run rescue, so they get $5,000
So we
more.
did have them at 45 then, and then we
Yep.
pushed it to 50 on the
Because they do
rescue.
extra, they provide extra service.
I see.
What they're doing, they're manning the stations, and
Yeah.
therefore their utility bills are higher, just among other things, but.
But two, we also, the trucks that the rescue trucks they drive belong to the county. They're maintenance by the county and they're fueled by the county. All they do is provide the manpower.
Huge undertaking to run rescue though.
Yeah.
And we're volunteers, they're not always manned, but they do a fairly good job being volunteers.
So the total here went up by 35,000.
Yes, sir. On the recommendation, it went up to 927,845.
And if you don't get the truck, you can take 30,000 of that back.
35,000.
So it'd been,
But originally, wasn't it gonna be in the budget, that you were gonna request it until it came up to that?
I
particular
requested
Monday?
$250,000 for truck and equipment, and the mayor's recommendation was to cut that.
The fire departments are all wrapped up in this one motion.
Mhm.
I'm gonna make an amendment to the motion, Madam Chairman, to increase the fire department's $5,000 each. So it would take the 50 to 55, the 45 to 50. So it'd be a total of $40,000 more.
And we do have amendment made by Commissioner Sandlin. Is there a second?
I'll explain if I get a second.
Motion dies for a lack of a second. Commissioner Sandlin.
I'll explain anyway.
I can see what you're gonna say.
Every year's a little tougher. Every year's a little more stringent. Every year's harder and harder to get those volunteers out there to work these stations. And you're talking about, well, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, everybody else here does too. And $5,000 a station is a drop in the bucket to our $500 million budget. So, I mean, they've been with us all along. They continue to put their lives in front of danger and keep us safe. So, I mean, that's, like I said, it's a drop in the bucket. I hope you'd reconsider, and we'll look at this at another time, I guess, but it will be brought back up.
Of course, the initial plan is for eventually for all volunteer departments to come up around the county.
I know. I knew that when you came on.
Long range
We're gonna,
plan.
it's a long range plan to.
It's like an elephant, we're just
Yeah.
eating it a bite at a time.
Yeah.
Okay, gentlemen, we're back to the original motion. May I double check? Commissioner Jordan, you made the motion. Who made that second? Commissioner Schaefer, thank you. Any further discussion?
Can I say something? Can I say something for Laverne Rescue Squad? Oh.
We got a motion on the floor. but I
We
don't-
do have a motion and a second.
I don't-
On the Laverne Rescue Squad, Mayor Burgess, that's what you said you did not have clarity on, is that correct?
We have the budget at the same as 45,000. We haven't reduced it, and we won't reduce it unless there's something that happens that we don't know about.
Might be an opportunity then to hear what you got to say.
Okay, what's the will of the committee?
I don't know.
Fine.
Is there an objection at all?
No.
Okay, sir, if you will join us, and will you introduce yourself, please?
My name is Chris Schmidt, and I'm with Laverne Rescue Squad. And I just, I know that these talked about this, even though that if the city did decide, which of course they haven't decided, we still work county calls. And I'm not sure exactly how the fire department does it. We are all nothing but rescue, that's all we do. But in our year from last year, I just want to let y'all know that we saved the taxpayers in this county $413,000 just for doing our volunteer work, and we didn't get paid for it.
How much money do you receive from the city?
I'm not sure exactly how much money we.
40,000.
Is it 40,000?
So you're getting $85,000.
Right, 85,000 just for our squad, and that's just, and I can see where the equipment comes. New vehicles, they require different equipment now to be able to gain access to a patient nowadays, because all the new airbags and the new systems that they're putting in vehicles, so stuff is getting outdated, and it is pretty expensive to replace things. But I just wanted to say that you know, we had over 21,000 man hours last year just for our squad, and that's what has saved the taxpayers for this county.
Thank you for the information.
Appreciate what you do.
Mhm.
Gentlemen, we do have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Farley.
Thank you.
Ms. Nolan,
Yes,
can you enlighten us with, in the unincorporated areas of the county, how much is available for a county fire department? And the other things that we use. What I'm getting at is, I hate seeing the county fire department as slow as we're able to get it up. That, you know, and maybe not this year, but next year, I would like to see us be able to do something more, even if, well, I think the people, I think most of them out there want full fire if they can get it. And I think we need to seriously look at it, even if it requires a small situs tax or whatever. You know, maybe we could put some figures together throughout this next year and see what it's gonna be, and see if it's feasible.
The revenues that I tag as being situs is over $1 million. So that's
Mhm.
what I kind of
Okay.
am bouncing against this number.
Okay.
And it starts reaching over that, then you're gonna have to look at something.
Mhm. But to be able to expand what we have, is what I'm,
Well,
yes.
Your biggest challenge is being able to maintain what you have.
Have, yeah,
Because we've
that
got-
is true.
We've got vehicles, we've got fire trucks that are
Personnel.
much aged.
Yeah. But we got personnel by virtue of strictly being volunteers.
We're
it's,
talking a few $100,000 per vehicle, so we're,
Mhm.
and you're gonna be faced with having to start replacing those at some point.
Those first trucks were 93 or 4 models,
Yeah,
something like that.
Mr. P probably knows better than that.
In the 90s.
I think they're
So we got
93,
20
that's 20-year-old
plus
truck.
year old vehicles. They don't have much mileage and they've been well maintained, but we're gonna see a need to.
Some of the, yeah, and you're exactly right. And I'd mentioned that in public safety, but, you know, some of the transmissions in the oldest models, the 20-year-olds, they're having troubles with those transmissions. So, that's the biggest thing that I hear complaints of.
Okay, gentlemen, let's continue with building codes, a portion of the budget, pages 69 through 70. Mr. Jones.
Madam Chairman?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mayor Burgess, please.
Okay,
your
the recommendation is
recommendation.
$841,339. That's about a $48,000 increase. There are no new positions. There's some additional cost in benefits and insurance with the step raises that are being put in place. Past that, on that first page, there's really hardly anything except either continuation or maybe a slight decrease in travel. Gasoline, the same with about $1,000. So the only real increases, except for those step increases in the insurance, is line item 718 and 719. Now, Mr. Jones would like to have more than one vehicle, but I have relented, and I'm recommending one vehicle for him. We haven't had any replacement vehicles as long as I've been here. He's been getting hand-me-downs, so we're going to recommend one new vehicle and one piece of office equipment, and I forgot what that was.
It was a copy machine.
Copy machine.
Yes, sir.
Those two items are really the increases here.
How many vehicles are in your department? 5 or 6?
8.
8. We haven't replaced one in 5 or 6 or 7 years now, so.
Well, not since I've been here.
Yeah, so
You
we
get-
need, I'll start doing one a year at least or something like that in my opinion.
What are the vehicles? Do you,
It's miscellaneous.
No, but
Got a
they're high ones, aren't they?
1937. Well, we.
The Packard,
Our
the Studebaker.
Well, our oldest vehicle is a 2000. It's the Impalas that we had got on state bid. And then, of course, the next one was the Silverado trucks, a couple of 2003s. We got a 2004. And then the Jeep Liberties was a 2006 models. And the recent purchase the most recent purchase we made was in 2007, Ford Ranger. So state bid.
What are you looking at getting with this year then?
I'm looking at a four-wheel drive GMC. I'm sorry, I think it might have been a Chevrolet. It's on state bid. It was,
21,000, it's pretty well stripped.
it's $20,853 on state bid. It's a four-wheel drive Ford, half-ton, four-wheel drive.
So it's a truck.
Yes.
The inspectors need pickups and they need 4-wheel drive.
Well, that's the thing, the height on the
Yeah, well, I'm
gravels that
thinking-
we have to use now, the track in and out of the job sites get pretty deep sometimes. so we-
Why the truck, I guess I'm saying, does the truck get better gas mileage than one of your Liberties, or you figure? That's what I get, why the truck versus an SUV? If you don't have to haul long things and all.
Right, I mean,
And they sit high.
this is just what I priced for the four-wheel drive truck. We could price a SUV or a Jeep, another Jeep type situation if we can get the height, you know.
Yeah. They get over rocks, I know that.
Right, exactly.
Commissioner Jernigan, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Jordan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Appreciate it.
Jones. Okay, we're ready for the Sheriff's Department portion of the budget. Gentlemen, we need to be on page 50. And this budget covers 50, 51, and 52.
So it's got 2,099, 2,000 jail fees that are used as only an emergency.
That's not all that.
Dang. Is that the same one you gave me before?
No, cut color.
Didn't read it. Okay.
This is the new and improved remodeled version.
They want to shake.
Y'all want one down there?
Need another for the.
Who else wants one?
Mayor, I'm sure you have one. But Mayor, do you need an we need one more, please.
I don't know if I do
No,
need
Missy
one or
Lane
not.
has one.
I don't want to get confused with all this I already have in front of me.
Okay. Gentlemen, I'm not sure exactly how the sheriff and Mr. Russell will be using this notebook, but for our purposes right now, let's look at pages 50 through 52 for the mayor's recommendation. Page 50 in our notebooks, please.
Okay. All right. Let me suggest one thing before we. The recommendation is going to be on the sheriff's budget, 50 through 52. On the pages you're looking at, it says $21,571,896. But I want you to add $200,000 to that for line item 307. Okay, so that's gonna make the mayor's recommendation here $21,771,896. Now, the budget, we're not there yet, but I want you to know that under 54-210, the jail, when we get over there, we're gonna take $200,000 off of line item 707. So we're gonna trade out $200,000. We're gonna move it over. But I just wanted to tell you that up front, okay? Now,
Mr. Salmon, page 50.
Gotcha.
there are some things that I'm sure you're gonna have more questions about as we go forward, but we'll address a few of those even now. If you'll notice line item 189.
Okay, and I've given them this.
What do we-
I gave them this.
Oh,
so they
you've
can see the
given them a
percentage.
piece of paper there, okay? So
They
there's,
can kind of track those.
you can sort of track this.
Go back up to 187.
We're gonna feed back up there. But 189 is, the total dollars has reduced from $3,058,000 to $3,021,773. The sheriff has moved two positions out of 189. You can see what we have budgeted is now 82 positions, and you can see this off of this piece of paper that Ms. Nolan has provided you. And we moved those two positions up to, where we move those, Ms.? Two detectives. So that's where the sheriff absorbed two of these people that we're transferring from the drug fund. Is that correct? So line item 107 is increased from 827 to $1,009,000. So that's where two of those positions came from down here and transferred them up to there. So that's a net zero as far as number of positions. And Mrs. Nolan on 107, you can see that that's got 23 positions in it. So that's where we got two of them from 19 up to 21, and there's two more. And my recommendation.
25 on 107, is that what you're saying?
There's no, it's 23, it's going to be 23,
23,
but I've
okay.
just told you
Okay.
how we got from 19 to 21 with those
Gotcha,
two.
gotcha.
The next two in the recommendation that I have made moves creates two new positions that came out of the drug fund into the 107 line item, and it creates one new position that is moved into the, I believe, the sergeant's line. So that's where, so we got two more that have come out of the drug fund that I've recommended. Those will be new positions. So that takes you from 19 to 21 to 23. And the sergeant line item has gone from 34 to 35.
Where did the second two come from? The 19 to 21 was the two from the drug fund. Now, where are the other two?
They're new positions.
Two new positions.
Two new
Two
positions.
new detectives.
And that sergeant
Well-
position is a new position.
They're new to the general fund, two coming over from the drug fund.
Right.
Two new ones, and then two that were in 189 has moved up to, that were corporal positions moved up to the detectives.
Okay, so, now, let's see, there was,
SROs,
where is this other one? Let me think.
112.
And that addressed
112.
both the increases then on 115 and 107. Those two moves right there.
115 is, I told you, is a new position.
That's what I said.
To county general.
That's adjusted that increase as well as 107.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, there's one new position. Let's see, how did we do?
We've got
We
two.
took a position out of captain.
With,
There was a captain's position at 109, is that correct here? Yeah, we reduced the captain's position from 7 to 6, and we moved that up into line item 103. So that's a net zero, but we've moved from one position out of the captain's line item up into 103, the assistant's line item. Okay, so all of that changing around.
And then 112.
Well, yeah, and 112 is two new SRO officers for the Stewart's Creek High School. So there's a total here with all that adjustment of 5 people, 2 SRO people and 3 that came out of the drug fund that's moved 2 into detectives and 1 into the sergeant's position. So that, I just wanted to get you clear on that, because you'll look at those numbers and you'll see how they go down and some go up. All right, you guys can ask questions, but, sir?
Which line item them two in for Stewart Creek?
112. Yeah, that's in the 112.
Okay.
You sort of punch the hole, punch that out.
Youth service officers.
Youth services office. I can sort of go over the other key components, and then you guys can ask questions as you so choose, but the overtime pay, what we've got in overtime pay here is enough money to include the payment of the officers that support the school board with the after-hours activities, et cetera. So it's $115,000 included in that $847,500 for that purpose.
Which line item?
That was line item 187. So that number, before we started this discussion, was 750. This was my recommendation, but we've added that so that we won't have to amend that in later. There is revenue that comes from the school board to support that additional $115,000. They do pay them, but we just went ahead and put it here so that we would have it
We had
there.
to change that because of auditing or something, right?
I'm sorry?
We had to change that because of
Yep.
the auditing or something, right?
Well, we had to do it for Department of Labor reasons.
Well, that's, yeah.
Overtime.
Yeah.
It used to be they just worked all the ball games and got time off in the summer, but then.
Well,
there was-
no, schools were paying
Paid
them
out.
directly.
Yeah.
They just go down,
direct.
officers a check.
Oh, yeah, and the school system, each individual school would give them a check.
All right.
But when the Department of Labor looks at Rutherford County, they look at the schools and us as one.
What was that number? One what?
115,000.
115 is in there for that purpose. Okay, on that, the rest of the stuff on that page, there's really nothing there except there are step increases, just like in every other department's budget that you've looked at previously. There are step increases, there are increases here with respect to the insurance and the benefits that go with those step increases. But that's all on that page there of any consequence. Okay, and the employee insurance 205, you can see is a pretty big number on this next page. We've already talked about line item 307. The rest of these numbers are my recommendations. We've increased a bid on this maintenance and repair on vehicles, line item 338. There's about a $40,000 increase over current year budget, which we think is necessary. They've already spent $145 at 10 months, so we've given them a little bit more there. We've recommended that. The rentals have dropped since we're going to be in their new building here soon, so they're not going to have those rental costs for those outside buildings. Vet services and animal food services, we didn't have that in here before. Where did we have that before, Lisa? I mean,
In the drug
It was in the
fund.
drug fund.
that was in the
Or
drug
the
fund.
newspapers in the drug fund.
Oh, okay. And so this is now placing this in the appropriate location. We'll continue on until you stop us. We've increased gasoline a little bit from this year, a little bit less than he asked for, but 25 more than last year. Law enforcement supplies is reduced from 108 to 85. Uniforms have decreased from 175 to 150. Coming on down through your.
Mayor Burgess, I would like some explanation. I'm not quite sure what the sheriff is doing on the uniforms.
Okay, we'll have to let him explain that then.
We've got a Class A uniform, we've got a Class B uniform, we've got a Class C uniform. These uniforms here, we're still using some of the polyester, we're still using these. These are the newer ones. They are from a company south of the border, and they are not made as well as what we were kind of led to believe. They are a different color blue than our old polyester, so there's a big difference. And so if we go ahead and we've looked at other uniforms, kind of going, okay, if we're going to switch, different brands to go to a blue, now naturally we're going to have 3 blues, and people are going to be all mismatched. So what we're looking at is going into another color, but we're going to start trying to phase it in. These uniforms are not lasting like we thought they were. They're a lot thinner. If you can kind of see through it a little bit if you can tell. And they wear out a lot easier. We are dry cleaning, and that's working out well for us. But when you hit the brush, these tend to get snagged up a whole lot more. So we've had those issues. So we're kind of continuing to look. We've always had a certain amount of money in that line item, and we're continuing to work with that because our uniform supply has gotten down a whole lot smaller than it's ever been. But we're just trying to buy uniforms. Instead of, in the past, we would buy everybody 5 new uniforms every year. We're basically, you turn one in, we give you one. You turn one in, we give you one. So, that's what we're doing.
Okay. Vehicle parts is about the same. That hadn't changed, even though they're spending over that budget. We can come on down the line. We've reduced communication equipments. We've reduced that about 30,000. Data processing equipment, they requested 292. The recommendation is 250. We're continuing to let them, and they've got some details on that if we get questions on that. Motor vehicles, they've asked for 3 million, and I've recommended half that much, $1,560,000.
How many cars will that buy?
That will buy 30 cars. To summarize all of this, to say the recommendation is $21,771,896. Their initial request was $24,568,000, which was a $5.2 million increase. The recommendation is a $2.2 million increase, and if you subtract out the vehicles of $1,560,000, it's $647,000 increase, or a 3.34% increase. That's what they've got in their operating budget when you take the capital out of it.
It's a 2 point.
In the recommendation.
With the 200,000, it's a.
Plus the 200, that would add.
It was a 2.4 million increase, isn't it?
Yes, you're correct. Yeah, I have to add that back to 200, but I'm gonna take it out of the other side. That's correct.
Okay.
So that's another.
The motor vehicles, how many you said, 30?
30 vehicles at $1,560,000.
From the motor vehicles, can we look at history for a minute? And maybe
They've got all the details in the world.
enlighten me. At the 2010, 2011 budget year, I believe it was, that they were, Ford was gonna quit making the Crown Victorias. So you all took all the money you could get at the end of the year out of your budget that hadn't been spent, and got additional Crown Victorias that year, correct? Okay. How many was that?
About 10, approximately 10.
Okay.
But we spent that year, Sheriff, $1,064,000 on vehicles in total.
Yeah, and then we got.
Well, the budget had some money in it.
Yeah, the budget already had some.
Budget already had some money in it.
Yeah,
Well,
I
what we
thought the
got-
budget had 20 in it, and then the rest of this came at the very end.
Yeah, that's what happened.
So you wound up roughly getting 30 that year.
Yeah. Roughly, we need 30 cars every year. That's just to keep our cycle going. We drive approximately over 2 million miles a year. So to keep everything current, keep everything flowing the way that we believe that it should be flowing and the way that our Ford standards have been telling us in the past, we need to cycle out our cars at that time.
If you average 100,000 miles a car, that'd be 20 cars a year.
We average.
I mean, if you, and I know you don't want a car out there running,
Emergency
pursuing
traffic.
emergency traffic, we're probably over 100,000, but you can put the ones in the SROs and
Yeah, we
and the
always
warrant
cycle
officer and all
down.
that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I remember reading that somewhere that you travel about 2 million miles a year. And I was thinking, well, if you just say 100,000 miles a vehicle, I know they're good for 100,000 miles anyway, but that'd be 20 a year at 100,000.
And in your
miles
book
each,
that I provided for you.
Not including growth, or anything like that.
In the book that I provided for you is a list of vehicles and the mileage. These are the top 40 are the ones that we're looking to replace. So we'll replace the top 30 out of these is what we'll do. But at least you got the mileage and all that in there. It's back before you get to the section that has the jail section.
Okay.
But that way you just see them. Yes, sir.
It's every car we've got registered in our fleet and the mileage.
You'll see the
At
page
approximately a
starts
month
with-
ago. That's not today's numbers, that's a month ago.
That was a month ago. So a lot of these, you can see they're 130, 140, 150, they have some that are 200,000 miles. And these were, majority of them were Crown Vics, so they were pursuit vehicles before they even got to this point, so there's quite a few in there.
Main ones.
And how many's in this review?
I don't know how many's highlighted on this page, there's at least 30-something here highlighted on this page. I think there's 40 on the page in total. The ones that we gave out at Public Safety, there was 4 pages of this information, but I just gave the first page just as a reference. So, yeah, you probably got yours there, it shows the full list.
I got about 60 cars, too.
Yeah. And there's a statement in front of that, talks about idling miles as well from the Ford manual. It's got a little highlighted section that talks about idle mileage.
For every hour that our vehicle idles, it's approximately, from what Ford has set their standards at, 33 miles, equivalent to 33 miles. So you take a vehicle, with a certain amount of hours and you almost double it.
You want another question about if you should get an Impalas this year? I'm just throwing it out. I've heard that Fords make the stronger undercarriage and all this, but you got kind of the shaft job with the Crown Victorias because your equipment can't be used for anything else when they quit making them. But I know it.
I just threw away 30 cages the other day. We
well,
recycled them.
A few years ago, we bought an Impala, and my wife was with me when we got it, and the finance guy was sitting right across from us, and she had this look on her face, and he said to her, "Something wrong, Miss Schaefer?" And she says, "It just seems like an old car," talking about the Impala. And he said, "Well, it is. It's been around since the 60s. Okay, my point being, is Chevy has kept one for 50 years or whatever, and Ford keeps changing them. Is that going to play any consideration, or do you honestly feel that the Fords are that much better?
we're looking at the Dodges, we're looking at the Fords. We haven't, because naturally, last year's budget, we only got $100,000 for vehicles, that bought us 2. So we've got the Dodge in, we've got to get it fully outfitted. We've got a Ford coming. We're gonna be testing those here pretty quick and then kind of making some decisions. The Impala is not even part of our decision. Being a sheriff's office and the back road, if we were a city police department, I would say that more than likely an Impala would probably be a good fit for us. But these rural roads, the interstates, sometimes we go through the interstate, sometimes we go off-road. We're not just going through somebody's yard, we might go through a field sometimes, not that we want to, but we have to stay in the game. We'd rip the front ends out of them. As a sheriff's office, and talking to numerous sheriffs across the state, they're not a good vehicle for a sheriff's office. So we're kind of looking at what is a good vehicle for the sheriff's office, not just, like the highway patrol has gone to the new Ford, or new Chevrolet Caprice. They've already decided, from what I've been told, from what I understand, that they are not happy with that and they are going to another vehicle when it comes time. So we're kind of going off of THP's recommendation. We're not even looking at the Caprice, and it's actually the most expensive police vehicle out there right now, from the numbers that I've seen. The last time I saw them, it was going to be the most expensive. So we're looking at the Dodge and looking at the Ford line and trying to see what's up.
The Impala may still be there by name. There's not
Yeah.
anything like the Impala. Well, the Crown Vics they quit making 2 years ago were very similar to Crown Vics in the 70s and 80s. They were the same frame and all, but
Yeah.
I think the Impalas are front-wheel drive.
They're front-wheel
And
drive.
they were rear-wheel drive back in the 80s and early 90s and all, so.
And that's when
they've
Chevrolet
changed-
got out of
They've
it.
changed completely over the years.
And that's when Chevrolet got out of the game of police vehicles, when they got rid of the Caprice and the rear-wheel drive, and now they've brought it back.
In 307, communications, you got 200,000 there, you spent 130, you were asking for 440,000. What's the deal there?
It's because we've started the arbitrator, y'all started a program with the ABLs. This is kind of getting our department into the 21st century and with communication devices and the cars and the computers in the cars. And that's what that is. And then we've got a breakdown over here, the 307 you said?
What do you mean getting in the 21st century? We've been
No,
working
we're
in
not-
the 21st century.
Well, not in our patrol cars, not in to what we deem as, but Verizon itself is now 300,000. AT&T has raised their rates, just like you're gonna hear with the ambulance service, and you've heard through, who's the other one that, ambulance service, theirs went up.
Everybody.
And-
OIT, all of them.
OIT, they went up, they almost doubled their rates. It's 140,000 a year for AT&T. And so that's where our request came from.
We're in the middle of looking at that situation, right? Mayor?
Yeah, we're looking at it, but it's not, I don't think there's any real optimism it's going to substantially change.
I'll be staring at it, it's all different.
Oh, yeah.
But now, that's where we've added this 200, we've moved 200 out of the recommendation from the jail over to this, and that number is 400,000 instead of 440 that they requested.
All right, I gotta hit you with this, the overtime. That's a norm. And I'll say my speeches like I did every year since, well, you were probably in 5th grade when I started this speech, but anyway. We started off at $30,000 in overtime line item when I came on. And, here we are at, we're $150,000 shy if this budget is approved from $1 million in overtime line item.
But now, don't forget the 150,000 that
I
hasn't
got
been
you
here
right here.
before.
I got
So
you
it's
right
about
here.
700, and whatever that difference is, it's
So we'll say,
735,000.
we'll say 260 then.
Yeah.
65, just to
From
give you.
a, you're 265 from a million.
Yeah, 265 from me, so. What's up?
We have the benefit package that we have, days off, disasters, just providing security for the county commission meeting, providing other issues that we have. We run into overtime.
So if we promise not to fight, you can cut that thing off at the county commission level.
Actually, by law, I'm required to have them.
I know you are. I know you are. It was told to me a few years ago, what do we do right in the middle of the chase, you know, just stop and check out and come back, you know, tomorrow at the same time. Yeah, that's.
We
but anyway.
even adjusted our schedule to 12-hour shifts to try to kind of help with some of that. But, you know, we still run into it. When you got disasters, you got different issues going on in the county, all over the county.
This may sound kind of harsh, but this is the public going through us as elected as they go through you as being elected. You know, what they see in a, when it's published as an overtime line item is free reign of overtime. If you want overtime, just sign up and go or get it, and we're gonna pay you. You know, we have to pay you, you know, if you do it. And we don't want to call off anybody on a search and rescue or call off anybody on an issue. I mean, y'all doing a great job out there, but then, you know, there's a management of overtime there that I keep asking to try to tighten up on or to hold the line on overtime. And
Well,
your employees keep going up. I understand that too, but we're looking honestly $800,000 in overtime.
Well, you also got a growing county, there's a lot more activity. You know, also the Department of Labor requirements have gotten a little more stringent. You know, back in the day, you
There's
clock
a lot.
in, you clock out, you might work a little bit over, but you know, don't worry, we'll take care of the county. And then people fudge a little bit, and they wouldn't put it on there. Now the Department of Labor says you better make sure they're on there,
Yeah.
because if we get injured on the job, guess what? And if they're not on the time sheet,
We've got a lot
you need to
stricter
deal with that.
standards now to where even with Lisa kind of brought some of this to us is we've got to make sure where we used to have people that did hang out or they would just they'd take care of it and just not put it on their time sheet. And that's what we had a lot of. And now they're told you document every minute. If you don't document it, then you're in trouble. And so they have to.
But we have now, each department head is now updated monthly and reviewed by the payroll staff there at my office. And they are told every month, here's your budget, here's what you got left. You guys need to make sure you're managing your dollars properly. And we take the reports we get from budget and finance. We go over that in detail. And each department head's updated, so that way we try to keep them from going over.
One thing too, we have minimum staffing standards in the jail and on patrol. And if you have a guy that takes off a week vacation, well, guess what? If we don't have enough people, then now we've got to make sure we got somebody coming in.
That keeps you from hiring new people too.
Yeah. Well, and you know, you get some people that's been here for 25, 30 years, and look at the days off that they get. They accrue, 2 days a month? You know, plus you get a vacation day or a holiday, or you take your 2 vacation days, take a holiday, and the way our days work out, you've taken a week off. So, just by doing that, and then we've got our minimum staffing standards, and that's the same thing in the jail. We have to have so many people minimum working in there, and if you get people that have been here for a long time and they take a few days off, or if we're sending somebody to Memphis because we've got to take a juvenile to the mental facility there, then we've got to make sure we've got somebody else there. And so a lot of times for the jail side, that's what we've done, is we've moved all the mental health transports over to the jail. That's why we cross-train them. Plus, it's a less cost. They're a pay grade 4, which these deputies are a pay grade 5, 6, 7, and they were doing a lot of those mental health transports. It's keeping these guys in the county, and it's allowing us to use, if we're gonna have to pay overtime here, we can pay it over here, and we pay it for a less cost. So net, we're saving the county some money on that.
I figured somehow you'd say we'd be saving money.
Exactly, we are.
It's just the outside appearance of nearly $1 million in overtime.
I think we'll get to the ending fund balance this year, though. I think you're going to see a better ending balance number in that line item overall than we've seen in the past. I hope.
Well, we're at 612 right now, so it's more than that, I imagine, at this point, a little more.
I don't think it's as wiped out as it was last year. We got down to last month. I'll take a look at it again when we get back to office.
Should you tell us right now?
I wish you could.
Yeah. Right at your fingertips. Is it 1, 2, 3, 4? Wait, sorry. Wrong one.
while she's looking up that, in 709, you said just a couple words about it a while ago. We're at 157 this year, and we're going to 250, which we've only spent 140. And the data processing equipment right there in 709. What was that again?
709, if you, in your book, it tells you a complete breakdown of what it is.
Commissioner, 643,201 is what we've got today.
643.
How many cars we get last year? Was it the year before last when we bought all the Crown Vics we could get?
Yeah, that was year before.
2012.
And so last year we got
2012.
two.
Last year being the current year.
Current budget year, yeah, last year's budget, there was,
Last
Current-
year was the 980,000 in 2012.
I'm talking about current year's
Current
budget
Current year
This-
is a small amount.
is two, you said. Couple of wreck recoveries maybe, or
It's
something,
100
replacement or something
The
else.
amended budget was $156,000.
Looks like we need to average somewhere around 20 a year to
20
stay
to-
constant. If a patrol car is good for 100,000 miles, because there's a lot of island
They're,
miles.
they're running about 200,000 miles a month. They're running about 2.4 million miles a year.
And
That's roughly 24 cars.
24 cars a year on
24,
average.
yeah. Mhm.
So if we, because I was thinking we could cut this 30, but I was thinking those cars were, and this a year ago, but they're basically 2 years ago
We
now.
started buying 2 years' worth of cars out of that 30.
And you can put it off, but all you're doing is digging a hole.
So 790 is the clipping those? 60,000?
No, the
No.
equipment for the cars is in the $1,560,000.
Okay.
No, yeah, that's in the vehicle.
Oh, it's 790 then, other equipment, I'm sorry.
Well, the other equipment, that would be a
790.
different line item completely. This is,
It's 718, each price is a fully equipped.
That's 790.
That's fully equipped in the one.
Yeah, that's all. The 790 line item is other things. It's a vault, I mean, they've asked for 92,000, which included some stuff to store all their evidence and other equipment and.
We have a huge problem with, the shelving in the
And file
evidence room.
it's storage of files and storage of evidence, equipment, et cetera. A vault to put some of that stuff in, which is now, it's just in a room.
And we've got tractor trailers out back that we're stuffing stuff in. So we were asking for in here originally, we were asking for a storage system. Basically, if you see, well, I don't know exactly what office, but it's the filing system that you just kind of move. Archives, like the big drawers that they just put in. That's what we're wanting to put in here. And we priced it out. And then a file management system. We've never done anything with that room, even since the inception of the sheriff's office, basically. It's just a room about like this, got some wood shelves up that are bowing, and so we've got to do something, but
Some of that stuff you're supposed to keep forever, I guess. I mean,
yes, there are some things, we've got doors, a whole door. We've got vehicles out in the impound lot that we'll keep for eternity. We've got pillows, we've got guns. You wouldn't believe the amount of guns we've got in there. Some that are biohazard because somebody's used them in a suicide. Some of them were, commissioned in a robbery or something. We've got, this is a weird one for you. We've got ice cream. We've got it in the freezer that we have to keep for at least probably another 20 years because it's got arsenic in the ice cream. So,
This new building doesn't help you out in space on that. In other words, you got enough space, you
an
just need to
evidence
get.
room has to be a secure room.
You can
that,
secure it over there.
Well, it has to have a big Brico block. No, that building is not built for it. We'd have to build a safe room in it, basically, and we did not do that.
Done with that part.
On the revenue side, that they say they're gonna bring in basically $4 million, okay? Is that comes, though, that goes to the general fund, but it doesn't say that their budget's really only 17 million something, right?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest part of that is that state board
Building,
building.
right.
Board building.
And actually, hold on, let me find it on here. Bail bonding fees. We found out today you can take that off of our revenue. The law changed on it. We won't be collecting it anymore. We found out it came effective on May 7th when the governor signed it into law. So so it goes over to, yeah, we just found out today. Terry Hazard with CTAS, we talked with him. CTAS didn't even know. They looked up the law, and that's how we found out it went into effect May 7th. So as of May 7th, we will have stopped collecting the bail bonding fee.
So who will be?
After the disposition, we've got to she's getting this information first right now too, so but it will go to the clerk's office to collect that money.
So it still gets collected by somebody and ends up in county
Locally.
revenue.
Well, but she was
Well,
already collecting it, right?
That's if,
Initially.
sometimes
Initially.
people can waive court costs and fines.
Mm.
And if they waive court costs and fines, they waive that as well.
So it's $60,000 might just have left. I'm reading this correctly.
It's out of his budget. We may get some of it still collect, is what you're saying.
It'll go into the clerk's budget.
With putting the veterinary services and animal food and everything back in there off your horses and stuff, why is it coming back into?
Because the way it's been paid for before has been probably not used wisely. So therefore, it needs to be something that's paid for out of the general fund.
Donation to the mounted patrol and all, they go back into this fund?
You can put them back in those line items there.
But there's
Each
really,
line, yeah.
we went back and looked today, we did a lot of studying. And there's really not been a lot of donations coming in, like this year, we've had one $500 donation. So.
In this area, you mean, yeah.
Yes, in this
You may
area.
get stuff donated, but not cash.
Yeah.
And come to find out, the general fund, prior to me, I was always told that they were self-sufficient and all that. Come to find out, even back to '06, we found the general fund was paying for lights, water, and telephone for the horse barns. So they've never been totally 100% self-sufficient. You've been paying for them all along. They were also paid for out of the confidential fund, but the confidential fund, when I came in office, was very low, and that's when we moved them to the other narcotic fund. We took them out of the confidential. That's why a lot of times you didn't see this before, because it was paid for out of confidential, which kept everything quiet. And then when that money got low, that's why we had to move it over to the other. But with doing research in the way that we read the book, it does not need to be there, and that's why back in January when Captain Mathis brought it to our attention, we made sure that we put it into our budget. And we had to talk with the mayor over that at that time.
How many school crossing guards are there at Stewart's Creek schools right now? You know?
Yeah, so.
Anybody?
Cassidy's not here because they're doing the
Yeah.
citizens
Well,
graduation.
you're asking for 3 more because of high school going in. All I know is, here's the 3 schools, Morton Road's here, Poplar,
Well,
Woods
actually, if
there.
you see our budget, we've kind of come to an agreement on it.
So there's 2 of those in here.
It's not what you had in.
What our request is, what it basically we're all getting down to, is I can live with the mayor's recommendation.
Okay.
We've got 2 more crossing guards than for use at the Stewart's Creek complex in this budget.
But with our budget, with this budget, the sheriff's office budget, the jail side too, I can live with the mayor's recommendation. We lived with it last year. We can make this work. It's gonna be hard. That's why I sat down with the mayor again, just Tuesday and showed him one other thing, and that's why we changed it, and that's at the point that I can live with his recommendation.
Well, having said that, I've got a couple questions, because I'm not sure I can live with it. I want to ask you about SROs. I know that we're adding the 2 for the new high school to completely put students, SROs in each one of those elementary schools that we're sharing. How many actual bodies would it take? 11. It would take 11.
That was gonna be the only other thing, and I told the mayor about the SROs that I was asked to fight for.
Well, I'm gonna make a suggestion. I don't know if I can make an amendment after we look at it, or
It's in the very back of all your books here, is what he's talking about.
But anyway, what I'm gonna recommend it, and, we'll discuss this, I've talked to people in my area, and basically here's what the story is. The folks that have children, that have grandchildren, they want these officers in their schools. And this is not a knee-jerk reaction. I brought this up a long time ago in public safety, right after, some of the occurrences that have happened here. But, most people have had a chance to digest this, and the full commissions looked at this and said, hey, we need to do it. But we'd like to do it in a financial way that's not gonna hurt us. Now, I don't know what our final budget bill is gonna end up being. I don't think any of us do at this moment. But a suggestion I would have after looking at his numbers here is I'd like to take the vehicles off of this, and hoping that we can take these used vehicles, pass them down to them, subtract that, and the sergeant leave the $629,160, add the equipment, $102,310, and the training, $39,000, which would be, if I'm adding right, $770,470. And since he had agreed with the mayor's recommendation, I think, Lisa, that'd make it $22,542,366. Anyway, I'd like to make a motion for that amount, if that's correct on my addition there.
Would you run through it again?
It's a total, well, you can go ahead and add it up, 629,160.
770,740.
Yeah.
470, excuse me.
470, yes.
Just put a SRO in schools, one ain't got one.
That will allow him to put officers in the schools that do not have
One
them.
more.
That's
This
I took out the cars and the sergeant of there, that 58.7. But you've got a number of 12 up there, so that may give you that extra.
That's including Stewart's Creek that's already
That
in.
includes the 2 that's in the budget
Stewart
already.
Creek.
You can take
So we're only talking 11 now.
About that, yeah.
That would lower
So
that.
that
number.
would-
That'll lower that number a little bit
Stewart's
more.
Creek and this, with Stewart's Creek, be 13, so.
What
Yeah,
you
Stewart's
saying,
Creek's
Robert?
already in.
13?
So that's your 13. Okay, so we can back that off just a little bit.
It's
Lisa,
Two
if you'll help
employees,
me.
2 SROs.
Yeah,
Two
but-
SROs. But that's,
That'd be
you'd have to
5.
add the 58 and then take out the 2 employees to get my numbers right.
But I got a question before we go further with the motion thing here, is the one the equipment's going up $1,700 over the original. And is there something that was missing the first time, or prices going up? Because it's now, in the one you got in here today, $7,870 per deputy.
Show me.
The one I got back, was the first time we ever got together, it was over here, it was
Gentlemen,
6,000.
I need to stop everybody just a few minutes. Was that a motion from you, Commissioner
That
Fitch?
was a motion, but I want to get her the exact figure here first.
Well, I
Give her just a moment.
Right there. Second.
We need to, okay, we do have a second then, okay.
No,
Not on the,
6,000
right, not doing the equipment.
Not doing the
I mean,
cars.
the vehicles,
We're not doing the
cars.
vehicles.
And not doing the sergeant.
And not doing the sergeant, but the equipment, are you doing
We're
all of
doing,
it? Or
doing
are
the
you backing
equipment,
out?
the training, the 102,310,
know.
the 39,000.
Then, yeah, you've got some
And then-
there, I don't know.
Up there,
This was-
in your SROs.
This was a
I
January.
backed out, I
Yeah.
backed out.
All right, you backed out 2
Well,
of
and it's
those.
even that way
So
over
whatever
here.
that total comes up to.
665, 610 is what I
So
got.
665, 610. and
So
add
it's
that
roughly
back to the
200.
mayor's recommendation, and that'll be my motion for his budget.
It's 6,200 versus 6,900.
Get on the same page. 6,200, I show them 7,800 right there, 7,900.
Okay, now Commissioner Schaefer, I think we have the number that Commissioner P felt comfortable with for his motion. What did you need to ask?
My question is I've got, because we've talked about this in public safety too, and I've got different figures from what we received tonight versus the past. And that's what I would like clarified before.
I'm sorry, would you repeat that?
I've got different figures from January that were given to us versus.
On the pay or on the equipment or which?
On the equipment.
On the equipment. The
Equipment
equipment's
is-
all pulled out except the vehicle stuff is out.
Yeah. That's
You eliminate that. He's saying the difference between this right here, and he's right,
Yeah,
it's a
he-
difference of $100.
They've got a lower number.
I've got 6,200 on it here, and the one tonight
We
was
started out what
7,900.
What we've been doing.
$1,600.
Yeah, what we started out with.
78.70,
So
so is that
that's
really supposed to be
17.
61.98?
Commissioner Schaefer, the reason that we did that was the first numbers that we put in, the 6,200, all the numbers that I gave the first time, we said those were tentative because I had like 2
I
days.
knew a lot
notice.
of those were, yeah.
So
Okay,
we have
now
a
what-
detailed list. I got a detailed list from Captain Spence.
So the one that
detailed
came
list on this
tonight-
one, we had to add a few more items on it because this
okay.
was something that was thought up of in a couple days. So once we had more time, research, we had to add the extra items, and that's why it came up to the 7,800 from the 6,200. I believe we added in the Colt M4 rifle onto that, which was $1,100, and that was a big expense, and there was another big expense on there too.
Okay.
Ms. Nolan, she's used the 78.70
And
number.
that's what they're saying is the accurate one for the
Yes, sir.
equipment. Okay. Okay.
If you had 665, 610, I got 22,437,506.
One more time.
22,437,506.
That's fine.
22,437,500.
Let me make sure that this is not one of them.
22,437,506. So the recurring cost on those 10 employees will basically be, well, it wouldn't be it would be the 6, well, it'd be less than 629, it's 12.
Yeah, 524,300 is.
524,300
A penny.
for those
It's basically
10.
a penny on our tax rate.
After the first year.
Does that include benefits and everything?
That's
supposed
his
to.
number, so, I mean, I'd have to go back and,
That's confirmed, but
It'll
that's,
be close.
we're supposed to have that included, yes.
The one sergeant that you're wanting to take out, if you do, that will leave us one school that's not. He's telling me that we need 11 SROs to fill out every school, plus the 2 for Stewart's Creek. So right now, the way y'all are looking at, that's what he's telling me, we need 11.
One of the sergeants was going into school.
Yeah.
So that's still another SRO in a school, so we can bump the sergeant out, but we just have to bump the pay down. Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
we need to be 6, or need
So
to be.
we'd have to add another 430,000 for all the schools.
That would cover everything.
Let me make sure I've got my numbers right here. You're saying the 2 in Stewart's Creek plus 11.
Would be 13.
So that's your 13, okay. And then we had said the numbers we were looking at was 10, is that right, Lisa?
10 plus
Because
2,
I had
2 is
plus-
already in your budget.
10, so that's 12, so yes, we'd have to have one more, so we'll have to add another 52,430. That's his salary, benefits. Because the equipment and the training was set up for 13,
So you
which is
already had
all
enough
of
done.
Actually, it's
We're all right.
5730. That's the sergeant he was talking
No,
about.
No,
I'll
I-
put it back as not a sergeant. That's
all right. That has a increase of 718,040. Gets your total to 22,489,936.
89.
What's the total?
$22,489,936.
And the recurring annual cost is
576, 730 using their numbers.
76, 730.
Yeah. 22 million. What's the recurring cost again?
576.
576.
She's showing
790,000.
576, 730.
Just a shade over
Yes. They're in our.
Well, that's my motion, and I'm sticking to it, and I've got a second hanging in there if he's hanging with
right.
me, so.
Is he needing to check a number?
I think he's good.
Is he okay?
Yeah, we're good. He's good.
Gentlemen, we do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion relative to Commissioner P's motion? Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes, one question. The cars, where are we paying them from? Are we ever looking at development tax? Are we looking at budget?
Well, 30 that we're buying's coming out.
The vehicles in this next year's
We
budget.
just need to plan on paying for it out of county general. We got more than enough other capital needs that'll take all of our development tax money. These cars, if you took them out of development tax, we wouldn't have anything left.
All right, now, when we talked about the SROs before, we had to have new cars.
But we'd have to-
But now this motion is using the old cars, and I asked before why we couldn't use hand-me-down cars, and I don't remember the rationale, and I was told we couldn't. But now this motion uses hand-me-down cars, because the SROs need to be driving those high mileage cars. They're not doing pursuit, emergency traffic and all, but
What we'll end up doing here is the ones that we would have taken out of service, we'll continue to leave those in service.
take their jumper cables with them.
Yeah, just take the jumper cables with you, and,
That's the way I understood you.
and if it breaks down, we'll send a record.
While I appreciate the need for more safety, the argument could be made to add 2 SROs to every elementary school. I'm gonna have to vote against this because we're in such a tight budget year, and adding another 11 employees that we don't have to have, in my opinion. We've got a good track record. We're way ahead of most all the counties nationwide on our SRO program. And our taxpayers are gonna have a bad year, it looks like this year, and adding another 11 employees. I hate to say it, but an SRO in the school, if somebody goes in there, it's gonna be the first person they go after to take out, and they're gonna try and catch them not looking or something, and they can't be everywhere. They can't, you could put 5 SROs in every school and still have a security problem, so.
I've had several parents call me the other way, said it'd be a shame you're sitting out there with a school with no SRO officer and somebody come in there and even if one kid you had killed. So to me, I disagree with that argument.
I've gone all over this county. I go somewhere every morning, different, and talk to people. And actually, people know we're gonna have a tax increase, one way or the other. And the one thing that they always tell me, keep fighting for those SROs. We need them. I want my kids protected. And I'm just throwing it out there. Y'all can do with it what you want. I'm just letting you know, all over the county, people know that this is coming with our taxes, but they're still calling me and finding me at ham breakfasts, fish fries, and at breakfast in the morning, and telling me, keep fighting for it. We need it from our kids, our grandkids.
Well, I'd like to say something too here, and like I said, my constituents that have talked to me about it want this, and that's why I brought it up. But, we've had a tough time for the last 4 years, not just this year, and our constituents out there have too, and I understand that. But like I said, I've had the people that I've talked to about it, all of them have told me, we need this. We don't mind paying that extra penny on there. And it's been, how many years now since we've had a tax increase? 4? Close to it?
2009. Fourth year.
We're doing our best to keep these taxes down. And I wouldn't be asking for this if I didn't think it's something that we needed. And like I said in public safety, I don't want to leave this office, something happened in one of our schools, knowing that I didn't pass this through or try my best to get it passed through. And that's what I'm wanting to do.
We originally had this as a separate item from the budget, and now we're wanting to fold it into the budget. I guess I'm wanting to go back and review what the advantage was to having it as a separate item, and whether there's still an advantage to leaving it as a separate item for the commission to consider. Maybe in the end, it isn't gonna change what it costs, but at one time, we thought it was better to keep it outside of this budget.
I think what it was to see how much everything else was going to cost and the impact outside of adding those in. So, I mean, you say to keep it outside now, I mean, there's a point that we're gonna be coming and asking for your recommendation to go on the paper. So, it needs to be in here of what the recommendation is gonna be.
Until we know what this is gonna cost. You know, the recurring cost and almost cost here is basically a penny on our tax rate. I mean, that's what it's gonna cost us. To fully man those schools.
I want to ask a question before, and if it's a possibility, I want to offer an amendment, and that's back on the vehicles. If we funded out of the general fund 20 vehicles, and if development tax comes through more this year, that we fund the other 5. Because it came through a lot more this year than we were thinking it would.
Well, I think what you need to do is decide if 30 vehicles, you're gonna fund them either out of here or some other source. And when we get to the point of looking a little bit further at the total budget and the capital needs that we have, then you might could rearrange or re-push those around a little bit later. But I don't think you ought to plan on having that yet.
Okay. And one more thing it was brought up before the General Assembly this year, and I think it's been sent back I know it didn't pass, but it's been sent back for further study for next year. And that is, the bill was brought up that the state fund SROs, and they require them in all schools throughout the state. And it didn't make it this year, but I don't know if it will.
That's not gonna make it.
I doubt
No,
it. They're not gonna pay for that, I don't think either. But it was there, I read the thing in the CTAS stuff that came through. Okay.
So right now, our package is 665, 610 on the SRO. What we're looking at. Now, that's just that's not including the training and equipment, so if you add that back in, what was the total on that? I've been scribbling all.
718,040.
718,040 is total this year.
Okay, gentlemen, do we need any further discussion relative to this motion?
Well, selling a tax increase, period, in there is a task. All y'all gonna have to help. I mean, and your constituents and everybody else. I'm with the commissioner here. My kids go to school with SROs, and so, I feel a little bit out of this conversation because I already have them. To correct you just a little bit though, those schools that don't have a full-time SRO, they do have an SRO going over there.
Right.
They're being switched back and forth and all that, and I just want the public to understand that, know that their kids aren't being left out in the cold and treated differently than maybe some of the others.
Right, and
They just don't have a full-time part in there. So, I mean, we've been talking about this for a number of years. We need to do it if we're gonna do it, what better time than the present. But in order to do that, then we're gonna have to increase the tax, probably. I mean, I don't see another rock that we can turn over and there's this money laying under it. I mean, it doesn't work that way. So, I think, we can get in and nitpick this thing to death. I've even thought about another motion, just cutting it $718,000, and y'all figure out where you're gonna adjust it. Because really and truly, we're approving a budget. The 21 county commissioners is approving a budget. Where they end up in line item, this is where it's supposed to be, and that's where we're gonna watch all year long. But really and truly, there's your numbers, and y'all adjust it how you need to adjust it. And it may come down to that. I don't know. So we can get through the first hurdle here. You still got work to do, but I'd sure hate to know something might happen. And I think this county's been very well blessed in the SRO program. I'm proud to say we started this deal throughout the county, and we need to finish it. So
We are the leaders in the state. Everyone comes to us for training how to do it.
see, Williamson County had to write the check.
Williamson County, Wilson County, even Canyon County, and they're coming to us
Seeing
to
how it's
help,
done.
to help them get their programs up and going, because they're putting them in every school. Shelby County even came to us.
I'm just saying, those proponents that are not, period, for a tax increase, no matter what we're doing, what we're not doing, then there's gonna have to be a sale on this, and it very well may be $718,000 coming out of your budget somewhere. So I'd be prepared to be able to make those adjustments, if that so were to happen. But I'm with you on this one. It's gonna be tough, but we'll have to.
Okay, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote, please. Call the roll.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Nope.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes.
That's gonna be the third yes vote.
6 yes, 1 no.
Joyce, and you saying
Okay, gentlemen, page 53 in our notebooks, this is a budget called Special Patrols. This is the Lake Patrol, and it is what it is.
Which one?
Page 53. Page 53.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, the
Gentlemen, if you're on
recommendation
page
is,
53, please.
page 53, the recommendation is 57,543. That's the same as it's been. There's really no change here. 545.
Motion approved.
Second.
Commissioner Jordan, seconded from, who was, from Commissioner
Well-
Sandlin? Okay.
Somebody down there.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, gentlemen. Administration of Sex Offender Registry, page 55.
Okay.
Making out everybody.
The recommendation of 74,688. It's just about $4,000 less than current year. Basically, I think because of the rearrangement of required health insurance on that particular person, so there's no other change in that respect.
Motion to approve.
Yeah, you've got the right
Commissioner
one.
Schaefer?
His numbers.
Seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, the detention portion of the budget, or the jail budget, pages 56 through 58. Mayor Burgess, your recommendation, please.
Okay, and we've already talked about the 200,000 that we're moving out of 707, so that line item is 250,000. And so the recommendation is $14,566,154. And I'll make a few comments before we go with some of the detail. That recommendation is about $3.4 million, I guess you could say, less than the requested amount. So that's substantially less. With this amount of money here, it's about a 4% increase. So now we can talk a little bit about some of these other numbers. We don't have near the kind of things changing with respect to the staffing that we had on the other discussion. In fact, I think, let me see here. I think there's only,
We've got, it didn't show on here, but I think you add one.
I thought there was one
Yeah,
additional
I didn't
position.
know that this one was it.
The three is
And that person is in the line item 115.
Yeah, and that should be
There's a
nine.
+1 staff person there for all of this business to do with, I guess, preventive maintenance on sexual activities.
Yes.
Make a motion, what the mayor recommended.
Okay, did you say that the increase was 250?
250.
250? 50, okay, so my total is 19,
Is
I mean,
that person because of this?
14,948.
Yes.
Okay.
154.
Yeah.
14 million, excuse me, she's right, 14,948,154. Correct. 14,948,154. That reflects the change in line item 707.
We gotta remember, that's also in 300,000 of that, or a couple of 100,000 or so is 399 is where it comes from in the medical.
Okay.
It
Yeah,
goes
and
up this year, doesn't it?
We had a medical increase of about 5%, I think it was.
Gentlemen,
So-
we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second his motion.
Commissioner P, thank you.
Tell us what the new position was. You said education?
No, it's a PREA coordinator. The prison, it's in your book. Open up the front. Right there, the U.S. Justice Department. It's a PREA coordinator. Basically, this person is the Prison Rape Elimination Act.
We have to hire him.
We have to hire him. He's the person that's going to keep me, you, and the mayor out of jail.
He may go.
Yeah.
He may be the one to go.
Gentlemen, we do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Right there. $200,000. If we met the $1 million overtime line item with the two departments, just wanted to make that clarification, Sheriff.
Gentlemen, turn to section 7 in your notebooks, please. The DEA fund. Ms. Nolan.
Okay, this fund is the one that you can't recognize revenue until you have it in your hands. The last time we met, there was an amendment to $39,000 out that I was using as a beginning fund balance. So, we can leave this as it is, but probably will change it in June to carry forward wherever the unspent funds are.
That's basically a starting point. That's the entire budget right there. Motion to approve.
Commissioner P.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Sandlin. Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, gentlemen. The Drug Control Fund, Section 8.
Estimated revenue for this fund is $460,500 with a beginning estimated fund balance of $380,000. The way it's presented, the revenues exceed the appropriations by $95,890 with an estimated ending fund balance of $475,890.
All the publicity on this drug fund deal. Who's watching that account? Thank you, sir. I figured you might have something. I was hoping you'd have
Does this
something.
tell us what it can be spent for?
No.
No.
This tells you this straightens out a lot of the stuff that is in the newspaper. Now, if you want,
Of course, I can't believe anybody fell for that article, but whatever.
yeah, the Article 1, it was kind of, it threw out a ooh and then it answered itself, and it threw out a ooh and then it answered itself. There's nothing that's being misused, misspent out of the drug fund. Right down here, you'll see on here the tool set. It explains exactly everything about the tool set, or what we do with it. It's for drugs and looking for drugs in vehicles. iTunes gift cards. We have receipts for every iTunes gift card we've ever bought and every app we've ever bought. We've only used $500, and we use those apps. Everyone knows if you have an iPhone, you have to pay for most of the apps. Some are free, but the ones that we need, we have to pay for. We have receipts for every one of those. The 3D television. it says right here, you go through all of it. Basically, we needed a television with a certain megapixel, certain video feed run through it. This television is not hooked up to cable, is not hooked up to any video games, anything else. It was purchased because it needed to be so many megapixels. A comparable model was another brand for $1,099. We were able to buy a Vizio box, a Vizio TV, and most everyone I hope knows what a Vizio TV is. It's the lower grade regular TV, but it had the 3D. We do not have any 3D glasses. It's not hooked up to any games. It's not hooked up to any cable TV, or the Netflix is not hooked up. Nothing. We bought it for a monitor, and we only paid $598. So that's why we did it. Emergency lights. It was said that we paid for those out of the drug fund for my vehicle. That is not true. That came out of the general fund 3 years ago. Canine training. Citizens donated the funds for 2 dogs and the training for the canine officers. The sheriff's office drug fund paid for the lodging and the food for 3 officers for 6 weeks while they were training in Florida. But the dogs and the other stuff was donated, and those dogs are about $10,000 a piece, I believe. Jason's back, yes. Also, I did bring the detectives, the narcotics detectives, if you'd like to ask them anything. But I do ask that if we do bring them up, we cut off Channel 19 because naturally they are undercover detectives and their voice or their faces really don't need to be on TV because of the safety of them and their families. The plaques that we paid for, we purchased and gave 1 retiring DEA agent who worked hundreds of hours with the narcotics unit since 2000. We funded, what was this? Oh, the total plaques and stuff we bought is $366.74. They also, one was for the cold case unit, one was for that DEA agent, one was for a fallen officer, and one was to purchase a nameplate for a plaque that we already had to put another officer's name up on it for graduating the FBI Academy.
I don't know how it got started. I just got phone calls about it, so.
Trying to sell
You know.
That's all it was.
What?
Trying to sell
Well, this all
Oh,
got
I know how
started.
that works, yeah.
This all got started when public safety, when we talked about moving the positions over. I've talked with y'all, a lot of you, on an individual basis. I talked about it when I campaigned, that I did not believe that those positions should ever be funded through the drug fund. And I've worked tirelessly with the mayor. I've bugged him since I came in office about it. And the mayor told me at one time, you show good effort, I'll show good effort. Well, I went to him this year and said, hey, what about this? And he said, well, I had to remind him about the good effort thing. And he said, well, you're right. And, he thought that was a good effort. And so therefore, we're losing 3 patrol officers to make this happen. But, in these tough times, we have to do what we have to do. And to me, this is what we need to do. We need to get those officers out of the drug fund, because what happens if next year if they work big cases and they don't make enough money, then they could be potentially laid off. Or, not to say that it's ever happened around here, it's happened other places, but say that money gets low and now the officers go and they stretch the law a little bit to try to get the money. That way they get a paycheck. I personally did not ever agree with it, and that's why I've fought and worked very hard to make this happen this year. So again, I want to say thank you. I work very hard to make sure I do a good job for everybody in this county. And I'm not going to let something like this screw us up or get us in trouble. We've had clean audits since I took office. Our drug arrests are almost doubled. We've brought in a lot more money. We're working very hard. But, this was brought up, and that's where this investigation was brought, and these questions were asked. But I can assure you that nothing illegal, hokey, or hanky has been going on with any of this money.
Good. Thank you. Better watch taking hokey today.
Alma Mater's nickname.
So gentlemen, we need a motion for the drug control fund.
I'll make a motion to approve the mayor's recommendation.
Commissioner P, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Jernigan.
One item, just that it's different, and that is, on page 3 of this, it's a transfer to other funds, $60,000, and that is that this fund will help support those guys that are in the general fund now for their overtime.
Yes. And we will, the money that we moved over, that we were talking about, that we moved out of the jail line item to the sheriff's office side, I'm gonna make that up. If you looked in your book, and please keep your book throughout the year, but if you go back and look at your book, in 707, we laid out projects that needed to be done in the jail, and I've got them kind of listed in kind of order the way that they need to be done. I'm gonna take $200,000 out of the drug fund and pay for building maintenance repairs. We're gonna do the heat exchangers. That's what we're planning on doing. That's how we were able to shift that money. So, and we've paid for many of building repairs through, on the jail through drug money in the past. We paid $30,000 on the brick remediation in the past. The second bunks that were placed in all the cells in the jail several years ago, that was all paid out of drug money. So there's been lots of money that has gone out of the drug fund to help offset costs, taxpayers' costs on building and maintenance of the jail and or the facilities. So I needed to add that in there.
Yeah, so you're going to transfer out?
We're gonna work to, that's
That's
kind of our
coming as
working.
an amendment later?
on.
Yes, that's coming as an amendment later on. That's what
Yeah.
we would do.
They have 250,000 and the next 200 will come out of the drug fund after they spend the first 250.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
That's it.
Sheriff Arnold, I think that's it.
I think that's one of the quickest ones we've ever done. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
I saw Mike in there somewhere.
Mike, there you go. Oh, he is.
Okay, Mr. Nunley. The ambulance service fund, gentlemen, section 5 in the notebook.
Okay.
This is one that we've, in the revenue estimates that we've already, in preparing the mayor's recommendation, has moved out $0.015 out of the property tax rate that was allocated to this fund. So the revenue budget was built on 6.79 pennies going to this fund. So the estimated revenue is $10,844,559. Currently expenditures at $12,507,29. Revenues are below expenditures by $1,656,170. We're estimating a beginning fund balance of $5,330,000.
Okay, I'm gonna take another penny out of there, so I'm joking now. It comes in there in about another 6 weeks, but
Mr. Nunley, do you have any comments?
Well,
Let the mayor go first.
Okay.
let the mayor go first. And okay, the recommendation is an operating budget of $12,500,729. Now let's just review a little bit of this. There are no new employees in this budget, none. There are step raises, just like in all of the other departments we've discussed. And the employee independent insurance is $163,000 more on this particular budget, so that's a big piece of the increase. We have a total increase here of $1,554,000, which includes that $163,000. And also there's a $50,000 increase in vehicle maintenance. We've got an aging fleet of ambulances. And We are going to be collecting more money. Our revenues are up, so that line item 399, you can see that's up about $51,000 over current budget, but that's, when we collect more money, we have to pay those that are billing these services for us more money. So that's, we get revenue to offset that increase. All right, so I back up to those are the other key components that we have some increases in. The $1,554,000 increase. And there are 4 items in particular that make up $1,043,000 that are capital expenditure request. And let me review those a little bit in some detail. Line item 706, we have nothing in there this year. That is $250,000 for, we have 3 options here, 3 opportunities, let's say it this way. First of all, there's some serious intention, it appears, on behalf of Middle Tennessee Medical Center to give us a long-term lease on the property where the administrative building is now, that little house. And then behind that house is the PACE Center. And they've offered, and we haven't officially responded yet, but we're going to have this discussion with you and the rest of the commission, to give us a 50-year lease on that. And in turn for that 50-year lease, we would have access of using that PACE Center for an expanded administrative area. One would take down the current little building we have, which is a residential house where you have to be a perfectionist driver to get those vehicles in that building without scraping a fender off. But anyway, that building would come down and we'd be committed as part of our agreement with them, if they do this with us, to replace and build a permanent ambulance station there. So that's opportunity number 1 that we could spend the $250,000
Is that
for.
part of their agreement?
Yes, that would be part of their
For that building
agreement.
to come down and you were to go up in its
Yes,
place?
and stay there on a permanent basis. They want an ambulance located in that neighborhood long-term.
When you say a long-term lease too, what's the lease gonna cost us for long-term? Is it?
50 years for $1 a year.
Okay.
We pay the $50 up front.
We negotiate that down a little bit.
No, I didn't catch it on the front end. I just want to know what the lease cost was.
That's the first discussion. We've got a little bit more discussion to go. Secondly, what I'm going to say is we need more than $250, but that's all we're asking for. That's one opportunity. Second opportunity, some of you know full well that at least one of our areas is underserved. So we may need another station in the, quote, Las Casas, Milton, Jefferson Pike area. I don't know. So we could build and probably need to, but we can't do all this at one go round. That's one reason we don't want you to use up all of these reserves. We don't want to take more than a penny and a half out, because there's a station potentially at the current administrative building location, and there's a new station that we could identify and probably need. And what's our other third option? We had a third option for it.
Building, bedrooms on the sort building.
Oh, and there has been discussion about, so that we can improve the ability, the function of that sort building, do what the commission sort of put in place, a plan at some point to add some living quarters at the, I guess, the west end of that building. And to say all of that, to say there's 3 possibilities that we could really spend maybe as much as $500,000 to $750,000. And that's the reason we've got that $250 in here. We're only going to do one of these. And if we get the hospital property, I guess we'll have to do that one. And that part of what they proposed initially is we'd have to have that done by the end of 2014 calendar year. All right, that's one of the capital components. I'm saying most of this increase is capital expenditures. Communication equipment, line item 708, that largely is for this. The dispatch consoles at the ambulance dispatch center are basically the same age as the sheriff's. So there's $225,000 to replace those dispatch consoles. They're out of their end of life, and to add some radios there, a smaller amount of money. $424,000 on motor vehicles, line item 718. 3 ambulances, and we've got information that can show you the mileage on that, but we need at least 3 ambulances. We really need 3 for the next 2 or 3 years to get caught up to where we should be. And the fourth capital expenditure number that adds up is some cardiac monitors. That's in the, let's see, line item 735. There's $246,000 for cardiac monitors, and I believe that's correct, isn't it, Mike?
Yes.
And some AEDs are also included. Did I say all that right? All of that to say, those 4 capital expenditure items are $1,043,000, which comprises almost all of our $1,554,000, you might say, that I said we increased over last year's budget. That's the key components. And that's, Mike, you see something else that's material. So that's the recommendation, $12,500,729.
Make a motion approved.
Commissioner Jernigan, thank you.
I second the motion for discussion.
Second from Commissioner Salem.
I received a call, and I will start this by saying I've always been a big fan of Mr. Nolan. I think y'all do a great job. But somebody called me and asked why we needed a community relations or a public relations or a community activist person on your staff. And is there a person that does that job, and is that entirely their job? I mean, I didn't know enough about to even have a discussion. So can you explain that a little bit to me and how long that position's been there?
The position has been there for, how long have you been in office?
Well, it's more than 7 years, so.
About 10 years. She not only does public relations for the ambulance service, actually we don't call it public relations, we call it the REACT team, which is response to emergencies and community education. She goes around to all the schools at least once during the school year, most of them more than that. Anybody has a request for to know about the ambulance service, she does that. She not only does those kind of things for our employees, but for anybody else in the county that needs it. The mayor uses her some, and some things that he does. And,
Educational type thing.
Tulsa United Way.
Yeah, she's been, she's
County's United Way.
She's been handling United Way for some time and has drastically increased the county's contribution.
She threatened you.
I would just ask about it, so I'm asking you for that one.
She does a lot of training. She does seat belt training for car seats. She was the first one that was certified in Rutherford County for that. She works closely in conjunction with Murfreesboro Police Department and Rutherford County Sheriff's Department. Anybody ask her.
I think if you remember when the new seats came out that they needed, they went around. I know it was people from the ambulance service went around to the schools, because I remember at Laverne Primary, and they had the seats there, and they were training the parents how to put their kids into them and set them up right, so it would, if there was a wreck, they would get hurt, this type of thing. There was one thing, I just want to mention it, it was at $250,000 for the, whatever, the sort, or the new ambulance station, or a place for a new administrative building to wait and see what was going to happen with all the things going before approving it. So that's why out of public safety it was left out of the budget for that reason.
Is the sort building sprinkled? If it was, if you put living quarters in, you have sprinkled.
The people actually are on duty 24 hours a day, but they're utilizing office space right now.
Just learned that last month.
I was just asking, you threw a couple scenarios out there, and this, so if we approve the 250, that's the scenario we're going with, I guess.
That's all we're gonna ask you for.
I mean, that's just,
No,
half that's architect fees or something,
No. The 250 is one of the three options.
One of the three
That's
options.
why
They're gonna
he's
narrow
saying
it
he hasn't
down.
made up his mind which of
Well,
the three it'll
I
be.
think it's, time-wise, if we get this arrangement with the hospital property, we'll have to probably do that one first.
I think that's the one that's most imminent. Since we had the public safety meeting, the mayor has had contact with the medical center, and they've presented us with basically a lease, a long-term lease.
So what I'm saying though is line item 706, then we're gonna do that.
Yes, I think it's likely we'll do that. Yes.
Because otherwise, I would say we take it out of this budget, and if we get down the road a month or 2 months or whatever we're gonna do before we set the budget, then we put that 250 in there. I mean, if it's kinda like see what the county commission says at this point, you know, I mean,
I really think that we should do at least one of those, and that's the only one we're gonna ask for, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna be the hospital property.
And in 6 months' time, we could come back and look at one of those out of the
Yeah.
fund balance.
It'll have to go through property management even once we make a choice on which one we're gonna present to them first.
Mhm.
Then we'll have to bring it back through to you to tell you which one we're suggesting we go with.
And this communication deal has been a big deal on that, but we've, you know, and I kind of throws me off a little bit on it. I thought we had already upgraded under the sheriff's upgrade was inclusive of his upgrade as well.
No,
So that was separated.
Completely.
Well, we talked about it in far as pulling those two together, so we would be on the same, no pun intended, same wavelength on this thing, you know, as far as communication wise, yeah.
And
But,
that may happen at some time, and it really probably should happen, to be honest with you. But even if that happens, we're gonna have to move those regardless of who moves. And let's assume that the ambulance service will move its communications over to the sheriff's department. Well, those dispatchers and those radios are gonna have to go to the sheriff's department. So if you buy them for us and they end up at the sheriff's department, they still match. They're all the same, gonna be the same time.
So we are gonna be on
Yeah.
We'll be completely compatible.
Yeah.
So we can make that happen at some point.
Even if it's virtual, you know, with the push of a button,
Mhm.
during this day and time, you can switch the dispatch from the sheriff to the ambulance, or from the ambulance to the sheriff.
Okay, and one other one then, because I'm really all right with that. It's just the point of being compatible with one another and being able to work together. I mean, we got into a situation a few years ago, and that wasn't so. So the 3 new ambulances, this is equipped, ready to go out the door.
Not with all the equipment, but we'll move some of the equipment.
Some of it you can move from the others, so. But we don't have any additional well, we got these health equipment down here at $419,000, which is.
That's completely different. That's cardiac monitors.
So
and
does that pick up the
AED.
difference on these 3 ambulances, or we're gonna have to come back and look at that again?
What happened
Replace the old ones,
was,
isn't it?
last year, we got a grant from Christie Houston
Mhm.
to replace half of our cardiac
Right,
monitors.
right.
So right now, we have half of one brand and half of another brand.
I'm just purely talking about the equipment of the
ambulance?
new ambulances, yeah.
Yeah, we'd move those cardiac monitors, move right over, so.
But I mean, all equipment, that's what I'm trying to say, Mike.
Typically, we usually buy a new stretcher
Mhm.
with a new ambulance, simply because by the time
Right,
that ambulance
right.
is worn out, the
Yeah.
stretcher's pretty well worn out too.
I know some stuff you can move over, some stuff it wouldn't be, you wouldn't wanna do that, so. But what I'm asking is this is the whole package right
That's
here,
all.
okay.
Were half the cardiac monitors replaced last year?
Uh-huh. Some of our older cardiac monitors are no longer supported by the company that makes them. And that's why we were kind of behind it.
Too, one thing I want to point out is, I don't think we have another department that brings in this kind of revenue, do we? $10,844,559,000. Excuse me, 10 million. We'll get that outright. But, you know, so we're actually funding around 2 million, something like that, above what his
Well, your
income
your
is.
property tax is funding about
Well,
$4
$4
million.
million.
About $4 million.
$4.1.
And we're generating revenue of something in excess of $6 million.
Well, what are these figures I'm looking at right here that say revenue?
A summary of numbers, summary of revenue, is what you're
Oh,
looking at.
okay, that's not
together.
just his, I'm sorry.
That's all revenue coming in.
Okay.
So that's the property tax plus the charges for
Okay,
the
but it's
services.
still under the ambulance
Yes.
fund.
Yes.
That's what was throwing me then, okay.
That's correct.
But still his revenues outpace anything anybody else has done that I'm aware of.
His revenue has really improved over the last 2+ years since we've got this new billing system working. It continues to be good.
Gentlemen, we do have a motion and a second for the ambulance service. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Is there any other business that needs to come before our committee?
Tomorrow night,
Gentlemen, I will remind you, tomorrow night, a joint meeting with the Health and Ed Committee at the School Board Central Office. That is at 5:30. And then we'll also be back here on Wednesday at 5:30.
Can't bring up the school system because the watchdog is still here.
Point something out to you before you.
Gentlemen, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.